Oh, welcome to the Sharpe Way show. A little bit past 7 p.m. on the East Coast, and it's a Sunday show. And I don't usually do Sunday shows, but I decided today I would do one. I've been trying to do a bit more content because I know I've been out. I've been insanely busy with so many things that I've been doing. I've decided that I'm going to start doing some more shows to the best of my ability. So I decided, why not do this one? And boy, this one was interesting. This is going to be a fun show for those of you who like when I critique things and talk about things. I think you'll enjoy this one. This is New York upon New York crime. That's what it is. And I'm a New Yorker also, dealing with this issue. The one and only Olayemi Olurin, who definitely has a lot of strong opinions and is very smart and savvy. She, for some reason, was on the Breakfast Club with our mayor, Eric Adams. And Eric Adams, I don't know why he wanted to go on that show with her. She does not like him, clearly, like obviously hasn't hidden it, has done videos upon how much he does not like this man. And he went on. If he went on knowing, kudos to him. I don't think he did. I have a feeling someone got yelled at or fired after this one because boy, did he was not ready. He was not ready for her at all. I want to cover this and talk about it because the most important piece here is both of them have some valid issues about New York City and other cities, migrant issues, rent issues, all types of things. And I want to cover those and kind of about where she was correct, how we could fix it, where she might be wrong, where he was obviously wrong in many ways, and what should be happening there. I think if you live in a large city, you'll get this. And if you don't live in a large city, remember what happens in New York City is going to be happening to you. Remember, please click that like button. I know I bug you, but do it anyway. Click the like button. If you're watching this on Twitter, you can retweet this right now. Like right now. That's a great thing to do is retweet it so other people can see it. If you want to chat during this, I'm going to be taking some comments here or there, but your chat will go to the front. If you super chat it, if you're watching on YouTube, Larry Sharpe YouTube, you can do it if you want to. If you really want to do more of this, which I'm trying to do more of, less work, more of this, I hope, then do me a favor. Become a member on YouTube. Click the join button. It's $49, $5 a month. I know, Larry, I have a lot of little things. Yes, but I'm really good looking. So you should want to see me more. Click the button, $5 a month. You can see this handsome mug more often. So please become a member. It does matter. And I'll take your comments faster. So you can be cool and say bad things about me if you like. And I don't say no to YouTubes. Even when you guys take a steaming dump on me, I still pop them up because they're super chats. And because they're membership. So you get the advantage of doing that also. All good things either way. Let me, if I could, begin this. So you will see this was the Breakfast Club. Let me pop this up if I could. And let me also grab the audio so we can listen to it. Also.
Today we reported earlier about congestion pricing, right? Yes. What's your thoughts on that? I think it's gonna cripple New York City. You got a lot of people. The bridges already, the tolls already high. It's $17, I think, for George Washington, $11 for Midtown tunnels.
It's actually $18, but that's fine. And also Verrazano, also $18. So yes, that's to cross the bridge one way, one time. Just to be clear on that.
Parking is extremely high. And now getting into the city, it's gonna hurt a lot of people even drive in the city. And people are scared of the subways, with everything been going on, people getting, pushed into the train stations, crime, and people are scared.
He's right.
City,
That's a lot. Let's unpack. Let's do the first. What's the congestion pricing happening?
A lot. I have. Hold on to a lot. So, but let's break it down for a moment. Let's break it down in pieces.
Now, the one thing I do like about Eric Adams, and this is not policy-wise, is he is savvy. Like he says funny, cool things. He's a very good talker. He talks funny things. He can bounce off stuff. He's a talented politician. For those who don't know, he used to be the borough president of Brooklyn, and he was a state senator. So he's been around the block. He's no schlub.
So we can really understand it. First, let's deal with the stuff about people are scared of the subway. When I became mayor, no one wanted to be on the subway. We got over 4 million daily riders.
Now, that sounds like a lot of numbers. You might go, oh, my God, 4 million. Used to be 6 million. So while this is great, what he's saying is true. 4 million is nice. Used to be 6. We're still losing money, been losing money for literally decades, the MTA, been losing money for decades. And we lose over $800,000, $800 million a year. Is that right? I think it's $800 million a year. We lose a lot of money on people who are skipping the tolls, who aren't even paying to go on this. They just jump over. It's a new thing now. It's horrible.
I was talking to one of my guys. I was talking to a sister the other day, and she said, you know, you have about 200-300 crimes happening on the subway system. We have 6 felonies a day on our subway system out of 4 million riders. Look at those numbers. Our subway system is a safe system, and we put in additional 1,000 officers to do the high visibility to deal.
Okay, so the question becomes, it's safe, he says so. Okay, 6 felonies. Felonies aren't all crimes. And then who gets charged with what? Also nicely done, but still. And if it's so safe, why did you add 1,000 police officers down there? So it sounds good, but makes no sense.
It's reality, because safety is not only felt, it's perceived. So
it's true. It's got to feel safe.
Those 6 felonies we got to get rid of. We're clear on that. But people are back on our subway system. But when you deal with specifically congestion prices, a lot of people don't realize these are the city streets, but we had no authority on it. Albany passed the law and turned it over to the MTA. This is the MTA's baby.
Okay, so now he says we put 1,000 cops in. They're safe, but then he says, "Well, this is the MTA. It's not us. It's not us." This is like next level, just saying stuff, right? He says, "Oh, it's safe, but I put 1,000 people on it. But it's not my fault. But it's the MTA's. They're the problem why things are bad." Well done. He just jumped all around. No matter what you say, he got you. Sadly for him, Olay was there. She was there to kind of cut through some of this. And he was not, if he were just been with the Breakfast Club, this would have gone right over, no issues, talk is trash. Olay wasn't having it though.
They should have allowed the city to be able to control how congestion pricing was done. So that $15, we were able to fight to get $100 million to deal with the environmental impact in the Bronx. We were able to fight to get those who are shift workers get a discount, those who make less than $50,000 to get a discount.
So what we did was, instead of making something simple, which might work, right? If something, and I learned this in business a long time ago. I learned this in business. The simpler your plan is, the better chance it will work. Number one, better chance. Plans can fail, obviously. But the simpler it is, the better chance it will work, and the better chance that people will respect it and believe it. I learned this when it came to compensation. When sales reps, people come up with some convoluted way of paying sales reps, right? Oh, we're going to pay you if you sell this, and if you sell that, X% plus or minus this, late for that, blah, blah, blah. And people would always be angry. Why? Because they never understood how they got paid. So they always thought they were being screwed. So they always got angry. And the boss would get mad and go, "I can't believe you guys. This is so simple." And I literally said in the sales meeting, because I was a sales rep, I said, if no one understands it, it's not simple by default. If it were simple, we'd all understand it. He got mad at me. But yes, that's what I actually said. The system it has to be simple. And once you do anything like congestion pricing, which I think is a terrible idea, but if you're going to do it, simple is best. This is the price. That's how it is, period. Even if people hate it, they won't think there's a cheat, and people won't be able to scam the system. The simpler it is, people are going to scam this, guaranteed. Now people are going to lie. If you're this, you get a discount. If you're that, you get a discount. They're just going to lie and say that I'm the thing. And they're going to lie now. More people go to jail, more arrests, more. And that's the whole point. The point of a guy like Eric Adams, and most politicians, but him because he's an ex-cop, they're okay with more rules and regulations that people can break, so they can now arrest them, fine them. This is good. Now this becomes an extra profit center. The profit center is from the money coming, and the profit center is from all the people who will fail the complex system. Tax is a perfect example. Tax day is coming. Taxes are insanely mixed and matched and crazy and complex. Therefore, more people cheat, more people get fined, and the wealthiest people who have the best lawyers pay the least tax by percentage.
But this was a bill that came out of Albany.
So you don't agree with it, or do you agree with it?
No, I agree. We got to deal with something with the congestion in our city, but you don't pass on the cost of that on low income New Yorkers or
It's
those
true.
who have to come to Manhattan. You may have to have go into your chemotherapy, and this is the doctor you have to go to. You should not be hit over there because
of people that live in the area. They're saying that people are actually.
So this part I love that he says. He's actually right here. Now, if you remember in 2018 when I was running for governor, I had a plan for this. What did I say? I said 2 things that would fix this system that would allow the people to actually us have a cheaper, better, actually brand new in many cases, MTA system, and not on the back support people. In fact, if you're on the left, you always go, well, the rich should pay. Well, I got a way of making that happen. I do. 2 things. 1, leasing out naming rights to bridges and tunnels. Tons of bridges, tons of tunnels. Over a dozen just to go in Manhattan. Tons of them all over the place, right? Tons of them. Lease out naming rights. Instead of being the Triborough Bridge, now it's the Google Bridge or the Pepsi Bridge, whatever, they pay. They will pay $100 million, tens of millions of dollars to have the name of that bridge. Larry, how do you know that? Because they dropped $20 million on a stadium that's used on the weekends. This is, as he said, 4 million people just use our MTA system. Millions cross all these bridges every single day. It's a 16-person metro area, and it's mentioned on radio, TV, hundreds of times a day on the traffic reports. So without question, they would pay for this, and they put the name on it. Make them now. Well, lease them, or they don't own it. The city still owns it because New York City would never privatize bridges. That is a bridge too far. Good pun, bridge too far. Would never happen. So instead, we could lease the naming rights, get the money, still inspect the bridges, and then they're responsible for the maintenance. If they're responsible for maintenance, if we inspect it's not good enough, they lose the contract. Done deal. Front load the contract so the money comes up front. So if they somehow blow it, we still get paid no matter what. That's how that works. Done deal. You do that, you can get rid of all the tolls. Money for a toll. They're paying for the maintenance and give us money for the MTA. Why do we require a toll? No toll. Get rid of all the toll booths, all the cameras that they have, keeping track of everybody, all that surveillance, gone. Just use the damn bridge or the tunnel. Just use it. Done deal. And here's the best part: no tolls, as I said, and money going to the MTA. But that was only one. The second part. For those you don't know, in New York City, our subway never shuts down. 24 hours a day subway. However, at night, only about half of the trains run, right? Because less people. So with that other half that will be running, make that freight. Yes, let freight come into the city. Right now, we have to bring trucks into the city constantly. Do you know what a pain that is, bringing trucks into the city constantly? Stop that. Tears up our roads, tears up our bridges. Stop it. Let freight come in through the MTA lines. The fight is, well, Larry, that's a different kind of line, different kind of tracks, blah, blah. Yes, it is. Which means they have to be rebuilt. Who will rebuild them? All the people who bring everything in, like Amazon, and you might say, well, can they afford that? These are companies that just their marketing budget is in the billions. I'm not joking. Their marketing budget is in the billions. So allow them to rebuild the MTA. Well, that'll take 10 years. That's when government does it. That's when it takes 10 years. When Amazon or Home Depot or FedEx or whomever, whoever does it, Yahoo, I don't care who does it, whoever does it, whenever they do it, it won't take 10 years because the privatized companies won't put up with that. They'll sue the people who screw them over. The city doesn't do that. The city just allows them, gives them more money, so everything takes 10, 20 years. Private sector won't do that. They'll build it out. We'll get a brand new place for free. So we get a brand new MTA, less trucks on the roads, less trucks on the bridges, more stuff going into Manhattan and into the city, and only the big companies pay for it. I spoke about this 6 years ago. Now, our answer is instead congestion pricing and $17, $18 tolls. Now, I know people get mad at me, Larry, I don't want to see Pepsi on a bridge. So you're worried about advertising in New York City when everything you look at is full of ads. Shut up. Right? Well, it's a corporate nightmare if I see Google on a bridge. Well, it's an actual nightmare when I got to pay $18 across the bridge. Who gets affected by that? The poor. So you care so much about the poor? Shut up and look at Google. You have another answer? Give it to me. There is no other answer. The answer is this. The answer is congestion pricing, crappy MTA system. The poor people get punished while the wealthy don't. That's your answer. Because you don't like seeing whatever Google on your thing, whatever.
Live in the area when they drive. If they got to drive uptown to the doctor or they got to drive, they get charged too.
I'm not feeling people that live in the area. Central Manhattan, south of 60th Street has the best transportation system on the globe.
Okay, I'm going to give Eric Adam props here. He's right. This is true. This is why I always say, when you make tolls on bridges and tunnels, you don't punish the wealthy. The wealthy already live in Manhattan, exactly what he's talking about. They already live here, right? They're not crossing bridges. They live here already. They don't care about this, right? They're already living here. It's the people who live in the boroughs, Long Island, Jersey, upstate. They're the ones coming down, and they're the ones paying all the tolls. The wealthy aren't. That's the point of getting rid of tolls. You're only hurting the working class and the working poor. That's all you're hurting, right? The middle class too, right? Whatever class you want to call it. Yes, the wealthy already live here. This one, he's right. I'm going to give the mayor. He does other city. It's true.
You got crosstown trains. You have south and north trains. You have buses that go across town. There's no place else on the globe that you have the greatest access to public transportation than people south of 60th Street.
That's
so I'm not feeling them. If they're saying that, we don't want to pay, you know what, you need to get on the train. I take the train, so you could get on the train. I'm talking about low income New Yorkers should not have to carry the burden of that. And we ask to have more and a greater input and the shaping of that, but we don't. People don't often realize we're creatures of Albany. Albany passed the laws. We have to implement.
Well, here's an issue that he's right on again, which is why it bothers me, which is why governor matters so much. Because New York is 5 counties, right? So cross county means state. Not just that the MTA actually goes out into other areas. It goes into Westchester, which is another county. And in theory, the MTA also goes to Long Island, upstate, goes into New Jersey. So it's a big match. So this is true, but it's an excuse. You're supposed to get the governor to do the right thing. You're supposed to
implement the laws that are down here.
Would you get on the Olayemi?
Yeah. I think you're right that there is a difference between perception and fact and how people feel about safety and the way people feel about the subways. And I think it's your own rhetoric about the subways that has a lot to do with why people feel scared, despite the fact that millions of people ride the subway every day without incident. But you've continued to fearmonger about crime in the subways. You've added 2,000 police officers, despite the fact that you've acknowledged that the subways are not that dangerous. And I think you're right. And poor New Yorkers should not be the ones who bear the brunt of this, but they will if they already have the subway being turned into a place that they have to fear, that there's a National Guard, that there's a hyper visibility of police, that they're trying to stop people with certain records from even using them. And now you have this.
This is a point where she is completely correct. She's right on the money here, right? People who are not of the elite classes do not look at cops being on the subway as a good thing. They just don't. I don't like seeing them. And they don't. And I know some of you might go, wait a minute, don't they like police presence? They do not. It doesn't make them feel safer, particularly when many of them know that they have a record or they have a problem. And if they get arrested, they're going to jail. They know that, right? A lot. And that's what she means by that. People who have records, they're going to be harassed worse by cops because they are. It's the way it works. And when they run their license plate, oh, you got this, you got that. Okay. All those kind of issues. So now people who need it most are not going to use the subway. That's what she's talking about. They're going to use certain stops. They're going to be afraid. This is a valid point, which is why when I talked about helping people on the subway, I talked about private security. People thought, oh, it's the market. No, because people aren't afraid of private security. People like security guards. I'm not joking. That's true. People like the bouncer where it says security and the security guards. That does make them feel safer. Not cops. A security guard's not going to put you in jail. He's not going to wreck your life. The worst he'll do is rough you up. That's the worst he'll do. But he probably won't. And if a security guard screws up, there's going to be a punishment for a security guard, right? We know this. That's going to happen. There's no qualified immunity for security guards, right? So private security was my answer, again, 6 years ago. It is better for that than to have a police force down there. Again, for the working class, working poor. Many people who are more the elite, they're very happy to see cops. Many of them are. But generally speaking, you go the opposite way, not so much. Not just that, the new rules that Her Majesty Queen Kathy Hochul put into play, that was for you, Joe. That was for you, Joe. That she's put into play was literally to make sure that if you get convicted of something, you can no longer be in the subway. So if you have an issue, addiction, if you have an issue, maybe mental illness, and you've done something bad, and so you get convicted, now you need help, you can't get help anymore. You can't get a car. You can't drive. You can't do anything. You're screwed. This will make certain people even worse. So she's correct on this, 100%.
congestion price. So how do you reconcile that?
Well, let's go before. First of all, I would love to give me the quotes on my rhetoric because I'm lost on that. Can you give me the quotes?
Oh, that you fairmonger about the subways?
Yeah,
You've consistently done that since the day one of your administration. One of the first things you did was add 1,000 officers to the subway because you claimed that the subways are unrideable. You and Hochul did this and said how dangerous it is, and you recently did that when you deployed the National Guard.
Joe, it wasn't me; it was her. My question. Be mad at me.
My question was, what was my fear mongering? What did I say?
Now, isn't he good? He called her sister and queen. That's what he called her. Eric, nice. Yes. Nicely done. That guy's
continuously say, I could point to a number of videos and quotes and everything from you, but you've said repeatedly that the subways are dangerous, that New York is dangerous. You complain about crime relentlessly. So what I'm saying to you is, if you are saying that New York is the safest city, it's one of the safest big cities in this country, which is true, and you're recognizing that the subway stations are in fact not half as dangerous as they're presented to be, I'm saying, how do you reconcile how your rhetoric has played into people's fear?
And not even just rhetoric, I would say the actions, because she's right. If you tell us,
which is different,
different, but it's the same thing though. If you put 1,000 police officers in the subway, 2,000 police officers in the subway, that don't make us feel safe. We think something's wrong if you're doing that.
See that? I wasn't making this up. Charlamagne God says it. We see that. We think something's wrong. We don't think good. We think something's wrong. Right? More cops in the subway doesn't necessarily mean that anyone feels safer. I don't think that's true at all.
Let me peel.
Well, the average person who rides the subway, I should say.
Again, because you gotta always peel back this stuff, because
peel it back. Come on.
Oftentimes, how you're depicted in the media that I don't control is how people interpret you.
You don't control.
I didn't put the National Guards in the subway. The governor did.
I know, but I know what you said.
But you said.
Hold on. Okay, this is the problem. He's correct. Again, I'll go back to the same thing. He is correct. The governor did. By the way, Joe, he mentioned the governor too. So it's not me. Everyone's talking about the governor. Don't get mad at me, Joe. I know you're mad at me now. He said it too. All right. That's true. However, there was no pushback from him. He wasn't like, don't do it, stop. He was doing that. He's like, yeah. In fact, I thought some cops on there too. He was 100% on board.
Eric,
you stood with Governor Kathy Hochul and you co-signed that decision. You did. And I'm not saying this as someone who's following social media. I'm saying that as an attorney in the city and an activist who follows everything that you do.
Yeah, I'm glad you do. But then you realize how I turned the city around if you follow everything I do.
I would say no, but we could get to that next.
Loosen up inside, Adam. It'll be a long day.
Listen, and I enjoy every moment of it.
That's right.
Because this is what I do.
Right.
When you come.
Okay, he does not enjoy every moment of this, right? I actually do. I get yelled at and love it. You guys see me the whole time. But no, he actually does not enjoy this. He likes being around his people who kiss his butt. He prefers that. He thinks he can be slick. Because to be forward, when it comes to mayors, he is a smooth, slick mayor. That's true, right? Far smoother than de Blasio. De Blasio was a disaster, right? He was, smooth. De Blasio would just completely blow things up. Bloomberg wasn't smooth, but Bloomberg didn't care. Neither did Giuliani. He didn't care either. David Dinkins was a disaster. Koch was smooth. For those of you who remember back in the day, Ed Koch was smooth. Eric Adams is smooth. So he is smooth, but he does not enjoy this.
With a serious history, if you follow everything I do, you know how long I've been doing this. And you know what my record is.
Your record is terrible. New York State has been collapsing for decades, and you've been part of it. Brooklyn Borough President, New York State Senator. So, yes. Morgan jokes. He says, smooth criminal. It's true. You're not wrong, Morgan. You're not wrong. Yes, you're not wrong. John says he doesn't like getting grilled. Politicians love the echo chamber. Also true too. Yes. John, you see me. I try to not have an echo chamber to the best of my ability. I put all kind of people on. I got some crazy people coming on this week. You're going to see. Yes, I try to put anyone I can on who's not in my echo chamber. So yes, I do appreciate both of those. By the way, guys, if you're watching and liking this, click that like button. I know I bug you. Please do it. If you're on Twitter, retweet this thing. It does matter. Every bit counts. You can super chat me if you want to. If you're watching on YouTube, you can also become a member if you want to. $4.99 per month. Click that join button so I can keep doing this. But no matter what, click the like button. Damn you all. Click that like button. I know I keep bugging you, but it doesn't matter.
So let's peel back what you just stated. When fear is perceived and felt, that's what fear is. So no matter, as I shared, that we have 6 felony crimes a day with 4 million riders. If people feel unsafe, when we get in the subway system, I ride the subway system and I talk to commuters, And I say, what are you feeling and how do I help you with that fear? They said, Eric, we see more visible uniform officers in our subway system. We're going to feel safer. We got it. Oh, let me, can I peel
You
it
can
back
talk. You can peel it back.
So we got it that the numbers are down. We got it that we're back on the subway system post-COVID. But when we see, this is what the public is saying. When we see,
so you're saying the public says, and he's lying. This is not true at all. Cuomo used to do the same thing. Cuomo would say things like, I was talking to my friend and he said, okay, Cuomo had no friends. So that was a blatant lie. Just say he had a friend. He had no friends. He still has no friends. So there's no way that his friend told him anything. He's saying, when I talk to him, they say, we get it. We see the numbers are down. Nobody ever told him that ever except someone in his cabinet. Nobody on the subway was like, hey, Mayor Adams, I see that the numbers are down. No one says that. But you know what I want more of? I want more cops to sit here. And no one said that in a subway. Now, did they say it at a town hall? Maybe. No one in the subway said that. He's making this up.
The visible presence of a uniform officer, we feel safer. Now, you may say, Eric, I don't want to see a visible presence of a uniform officer. And that's cool. But that's not what the overwhelming number of New Yorkers are saying.
And I'm saying to you, the New York City comptroller, Brad Lander, recently put out a report finding that 50% of the city is disappointed and does not feel safe based on your rhetoric about this.
Thank you. She is correct. We are not begging for more cops. We want more safety, that we don't need the cops, right? That's the hope, is to not need the cops. When we see lots of cops, we think, oh my God, things are failing. Seeing cops tells us something's going wrong. Doesn't say things are good.
Subways and your over police presence.
Okay, well, sister, first of all, that's not what it says based on Eric's rhetoric. That's not, you keep using.
No.
Did they say based on Eric's rhetoric?
Do you want to talk about based on your specific?
No, sister, I'm going back to what you said, because you're an attorney. Did they say based on Eric's rhetoric?
They have. The city is, they have multiple reports. The New York Times, the Gothamist, the city comptroller, and the federal monitor who's tasked with making sure that NYPD and
Yes, but I'm not sure I like federal monitors in general. But yes, the reason why I like this part, while I hate federal monitors, the thing that I like here is that it's showing that everyone else is the same thing. We need federal legislation. We need federal oversight. Well, you have federal oversight, and you've had federal oversight in New York City for years. We've had a federal monitor for years in New York City, literally years, and does nothing except pay the salary of federal monitors and pay people to do stuff. It's the old Kathy Hochul thing. Oh, I did it again, Joe. Sorry. Let's just make a bunch of people, a bunch of jobs, and pay them to change literally nothing. So, yes.
And Rikers are in compliance with the law, have both submitted reports saying that since you became mayor, there's been a return of stop and frisk, that there have been over 15,000 stops, 97% of whom have been on Black and Hispanic people. A fourth of those stops and searches have been unconstitutional, and they've yielded very few results.
Hold on. Now, if the federal monitor said 1/4 unconstitutional, that means 75% are actually unconstitutional, right? Of course, right? If they're saying 1/4, it's way more than that. Absolutely. So yes, Joe says, if you mute Larry's mic, well then we could, but then no one could talk about Her Majesty and she would be angry, Joe. I'm just saying, it's not me. You're blaming me for this one. This one, many of these, Joe, are my fault. This one's not. This one is all of them's fault. That's it. This is them, exactly.
Let's peel it back. Eric Adams, 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement, testified in federal court that the federal court judge stated, based on Eric's testimony, we are going to rule against the police department. We were dealing with 1 million stops a year.
Okay, I gotta give credit where credit is due. He's right here, right? Again, I try to give credit where credit is due. Certain parts he's right. He's right in this one. Eric Adams did go up against the cops. He did testify. He was trying to stop it. He policing in New York City was made better partially because of what he did. That's true. I want to be very clear. Credit where credit is due. This is true.
When I was with 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement, my advocacy is what turned it around from that 1 million stops a year. Look at the numbers right now.
I am looking at the numbers.
My advocacy and showing how to do policing correctly, because it's not that you want to eradicate proper police practices. You must make sure they do them.
She does. I'm just being clear. She actually does.
Right. And that is what I have been able to accomplish in this city, taking over 13,000 guns off the streets of the city of New York, who the victims are Black and brown people.
He took 13,000 guns off the street and a cop just got shot and killed. So you're taking guns off the street is just making more Black and brown people go to jail. That's all that's doing, right? Making more Black and brown people go to jail. But he likes them, I get. I don't know.
When I go to community meetings and talk to community residents, they don't tell me, Eric, we don't want more police. They say, Eric, we want our police doing.
Now that's true, right? And I know if you go to community, I don't know if any of you have ever gone to any, but if you do go to any, the problem is unless they're there to yell at him, right? There's something's bad and people come to yell. And that does happen sometimes. But if they're not coming specifically to yell at him, the people who show up are his fans. People who are like part of the Democratic Party infrastructure. They're the ones who show up to these meetings. Again, unless like you're putting in some kind of bike lane and nobody wants, then people show up and yell at him, right? If it's not that, these are literally people who are part of the Democratic Party, local affiliates. I'm very serious. If you've been to these, you know what I'm talking about. His fans, people who are brought by the local, like the local city council member, his people show up. That's who shows up. Those who will say whatever he wants them to say so he can put it on tape and go, see, look, everybody wants exactly what I'm saying. So I think he's not lying on us. That other one with the, I talk to people on the subway and they say, we get it. You're an amazing mayor. Nobody says that. But the town hall, I think he's right here. The town meetings count. This is true.
Their jobs correctly. And that is what I'm doing.
The federal.
Yeah, I'm sure some random person in Brooklyn goes, you know what I'd like, Mayor? I would like the police to do their job correctly. Literally no regular person says that ever. His people who are plants there, they all say it.
The federal monitor, who is tasked with ensuring that NYPD is following the law, conducted an analysis.
Came under who?
Conducted an analysis that happened 8 years ago, but they're still here monitoring what you're doing.
Yeah, but see, this is my point I was bringing up 8 years ago. This is both good and bad. It's bad that we've been doing this for a decade or more, and it still sucks. It's good someone's looking at it, I guess. I guess we have some data, I guess, but it's still, federal oversight doesn't make things better.
And they said that you have brought back stop and frisk policies that are worse than they saw even during the Bloomberg era. But more importantly, they analyzed the neighborhood safety.
Show me that.
I could show you the report is available, and I know it's been available to you because your spokesperson has commented on it. They did an analysis of over 10 precincts, 10 different precincts. That is factual. There's a federal monitor reporting to Judge T. Swain on it and presenting it to the judge. They said that, yes, listen, let me finish so you can peel it back. They conducted an analysis of 10 different precincts, and of the stops of 10 different precincts, they found that 97% of them, by the way, of the neighborhood safety teams that were disbanded in 2020 because of their disproportionate abuse against Black and Hispanic people that you revived, they analyzed 10 of those different neighborhood safety teams and found that they're conducting 97% of their stops on Black and brown people, and a quarter of them are unconstitutional. That's what the federal monitor said, not me.
So the unconstitutional part drives me crazy. Because if the federal monitor, who is literally the statist of the statist of the statist, if they said it's unconstitutional, that means at least half were actually unconstitutional, at least, if not 75%, if not all of them.
And at the same time, let's be clear on this, because what you're giving the perception of, this is a federal monitor that came in long before I was mayor. Can we agree on that?
Yes, they monitor NYPD, not you specifically. You're the mayor.
Right. Number two, I have been the mayor for 2 years and 3 months.
See, it's a short time. That's the reason. God, of course.
We've had a tradition of over policing for generations.
And they said it's worse now that you're here.
That I fought for. We had issues of over policing for generations that I fought for. We acknowledge what my history is in this place. So 2 years and 3 months, we are turning around, not only over policing, but we're turning around the crime. Because when I came to this city,
neither of those things are true. Now, is there less crime? Yes, because he was elected basically right when the lockdowns were the worst and everything was collapsing. Literally almost anybody. I would bet even the terrible, the horrible mayor that de Blasio was, I would bet even de Blasio would have been able to turn it around in that regard, because it was a disaster from all the lockdowns. So, yes, but that's not impressive. It's like saying, well, I walked 3 blocks. Lots of people can walk 3 blocks. It's not impressive.
40% increase in crime. And most of that crime, Black and brown communities.
You became mayor after a global pandemic in which there was record unemployment, business.
Yes. She's correct. Yes, absolutely. John says 2 years is a long ass time to keep the unconstitutionality of cops towards civilians. I would agree with that, John. I think you're right. Yes. And of course, Joe, with again, for the 3-pointer, 2 more years and 3 months to flatten the crime. That's all we need is just 2 more years, Joe. Just 2 more years and we'll flatten the crime. That's all it will take, 100%. You are correct.
Loss, homelessness, and you're not drawing that connection to it. You're making, no. But what I'm saying is crime is connected to what is happening in the city and the experiences of people.
Also true.
This is the most expensive city in the world. We had a global pandemic where businesses closed and people were out of work. So if you saw crime.
Businesses didn't close and people were not out of work. I want to make sure we're clear on this. Now, Olayemi's a lefty, a proud lefty. Like, she would not be upset if I called her that. She openly would say that. She is happily on the left. She does not want to hear lockdowns. I'm going to say it. Viruses don't close businesses, nor close schools, or fire people, or let people go, or any of those things. Viruses harm and or kill people. That's what viruses do. So that part, yes, that's what viruses do. All viruses can do that, right? Of course. Only government shuts down businesses, shuts down schools, forces people to be fired. Yeah, that's government. So let's be clear. It wasn't the virus that did this. It was government who did this. Just be clear. This was a government lockdown. This was a self-inflicted wound.
It was connected to that. But you're saying also
private sector jobs. Come on.
Also, you're saying that you've turned it around, NYPD's abuses. But just last year, we paid out $150 million.
Okay, he says private sector jobs. Here's the problem with that. He's calling private sector jobs 2 separate things. One, he's calling jobs in hospitals and doctor's offices that are run by the government as a private sector job. Number one. Number two, all these contractors that the government hires to do government work, he's calling them also private. So not the highest level. It's not true.
A settling police misconduct from NYPD, and that was double the number. That's double the number in police misconduct since you became mayor.
I noticed something. I noticed how much passion and commitment you have.
It's one of your constituents.
See, look at that. He's like, you are beating me, so let me try to stop you from beating me by complimenting you, and maybe you'll stop punching. This is savvy. This is good. I've seen people do it often. It's just smart. I've tried it before. It's a very good tactic, right? You compliment the person, say something nice, hope they stop punching. It very often works. It's very good.
Yeah, and I'm one of my constituents too now. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I grew up in the city. I learned, I noticed, and this is what I hear often of those who articulate when a person in a blue uniform commits an inappropriate act. Balance that with what we're doing to take the violence out of our communities. Because I know what I hear when I go to these community meetings. I know what I hear when I go speak to these mothers who lost their children to violence. I know what I hear. You are not even talking about that at all.
You know, first of all, I was a public defender.
New Yorkers don't feel safe.
But that's what you said. That's what you said.
See, saying New Yorkers don't feel safe. Sharpe said New Yorkers don't feel safe. He's right. Right? This is nice that he's saying something, but New Yorkers don't feel safe. People outside. All of you who know I live in the city, right? They know that. The amount of times people will either text me, reach out to me, DM me, Larry, you okay? I saw that thing in the city. Larry, they all think I'm like literally out. I gotta be outside, like it's Mad Max and Thunderdome, and I can't have a machine gun because it's obviously in New York. So I got a machete, I guess, and a shield, and I'm out fighting people for I don't know what they think, but that's what they all think. People do not feel safe inside or outside the city. It's true. This is an accurate statement.
And my original question was about how you relate to that.
You said that New Yorkers don't feel safe.
Yeah.
So
there was a poll that came out with last week.
Yeah.
Right. And in that poll that came out by the CBC, it stated that the priorities of Mayor Adams is moving the city in the right direction. Mm-hmm. My priority. Now remember, 2 years, 3 months, brother. 2 years, 3 months. I inherited a pandemic. I inherited 180,000 migrants and asylum seekers that can't work, that we have to house them every day. I
You called for a lot of them too, though.
No, we didn't, brother.
You said it was a sanctuary city. You told them.
Okay, let's see. That's why I say that's why I said.
Ooh, this is good. See, Charlemagne's like, you wanted them. You call it a sanctuary city, and to be forward, I'm not unhappy on sanctuary cities or sanctuary counties. I'm not. I love when local counties, local states push back on stuff that's unconstitutional. I love that stuff. So I'm not mad about it. I wish we had more sanctuary cities and states when it came to the Second Amendment. I wish we had more of that. That would be, I like those sanctuary counties and sanctuary cities, sanctuary states a whole lot more if we were going Second Amendment sanctuary. That'd be better. But it's true. He said it. Sanctuary. Come on, guys.
Important to have this conversation because sanctuary city and the migrants and asylum seekers are two different issues. Sanctuary.
That's different. So sanctuary city to take the migrants is different than the migrants and the asylum seekers. All right, we're gonna have to see how this one works. That's okay. Let's see how this works. Come on.
City, if you're undocumented, we can't turn you over to ICE or authority.
Right,
migrants and asylum seekers were paroled into here. They're here legally. They were paroled into, but what the federal government did.
Oh, that's because they were paroled here. I don't know what that means. I guess that's so you'd rather so that makes them legal. Okay, I gotta figure this one out. He's throwing some good words out. I like this. I guess what he's trying to say is if they were just regular illegal, then we'd want them. But because they're paroled illegal, now that's good. Okay, hold on. So if they're here without officially being asylum seekers, that's how we want them. But if they're officially asylum seekers, then we don't. I'm not. He's just saying stuff. This is just stuff he's saying.
And Governor Abbott did. They said we're going to send them up to Chicago, New York, Boston, and the federal government is saying, Eric, you can't allow them to work. You got to give them housing.
Okay, when the federal government says you got to let people have guns, you don't care about that one, do you? The federal government said your Second Amendment laws are unconstitutional, but those, to hell with the federal government. But when the federal government says they can't work, even though New York City, for those of you who don't know, literally hands out, under de Blasio, literally hands out New York City IDs. So you can get an ID from New York City so that you can do things in New York City. That's how they wanted to let the people who were immigrants vote, because they would have a New York City ID. I'm not joking. That was the entire point behind it. That's why they were doing it. So when it comes to that, you're fine. No worries. To hell with the federal government. When it comes to Second Amendment, to hell with the federal government. But this one, all of a sudden, this is, no, we can't do that. And it's all because Governor Abbott, he's the bad guy. All Governor Abbott's fault. Damn Texans. It's your fault, Texans.
Can't stop the buses from coming in. You cannot turn them over to ICE. All of that is illegal.
Okay. You can turn them over to ICE if you want. I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying it's the right answer. I'm saying he's wrong. Just turn them over to ICE. You can if you want to. Just turn them over. ICE ain't going to go, no. ICE will take them. If you want to invite ICE in to take them, you can. You don't want to, which I'm not mad at. But stop lying. You can if you want to. You can literally just go, hey, ICE, here they are. Take them. He can do if he wanted to. He won't. Of course not.
If I do that, we're breaking law. Mm-hmm. So when people look at the migrants that are here, we didn't call people to come here. They were sent here by Governor Abbott. Failure to secure.
But I thought it was the federal government. So Biden doesn't love you anymore?
Our borders is allowing this to continue. And we're not getting any money from. We got about $100 million out of a $4 billion price.
Okay, that's a lie. New York State got literally $20 billion. We did make money. Hochul made the cash. Now, if she didn't want to give it to you, that's because she don't like you. And that's fine. Maybe she don't like you. But she got $20 billion. Uncle Joe wrote her a big check.
Look at Chicago right now. Look what's happening in Chicago right now. My brother, Mayor Johnson over there, what's happening with him? Look what's happening in Boston. Look what's happening in Houston, Los Angeles. And then do a comparative analysis of what's happening on our streets here. Wow, we dealt with that crisis, turned around our economy, outpacing the state in reading and math of our young.
Okay. David says, Larry, New York City politicians don't want to actually help ICE Homeland Security. I agree. That's my point, Dave. They could if they wanted to. They absolutely could. ICE, oh my God, he did it. Let's arrest Eric Adams. That's not going to happen, right? Why is he so afraid? Now he's afraid of breaking the law? Now he is? And that's about, we're better in New York State. New York State education system is a joke. To be We're outpacing the rest of the state. Yeah, that's like saying I'm running faster than a turtle. I can run faster than a turtle. It's not impressive. It's not a high bar.
People, I've been on Rikers Island more than any mayor in the history of the city, talking with inmates and correction officers.
Okay, that's a good thing. I'm not angry that he goes to Rikers Island. That is a good thing. Here's what I would ask him to do. Fix Rikers Island. I'm glad he's going. Credit where credit is due. Amazing. He's going to Rikers Island. Good for him. I've visited prisons and jails too. It's good to go do that. You should, if you are trying to become an elected official, an executive who will, help to, enforce laws. Of course you should. It is a good idea. Now fix it, right? Now stop arresting so many people and putting them in jail for no reason. Now make a better system to where people aren't sitting at Rikers Island for 2-3 years. How about that? I would rather you, look, I'm glad you're visiting. But I have a choice of you visiting or fixing it. Fix it.
To turn around what's happening on Rikers Island.
I know you go to Rikers in 2022 and there were 3 deaths back to back because corrections officers left their posts and allowed it to happen. You went to Rikers to express your support for the corrections officer. I know you go to Rikers. I do want you to do, Mayor Adams.
But you keep giving out misinformation.
It's not misinformation, Mayor Adams. I'm quoting the monitor.
I was on.
No, literally, you do. No, I support them also. To be forward, I also support corrections officers. I think it's absolutely, they are completely screwed over in my state. I'm assuming across the country, but I don't know across. I know New York State. They're completely screwed over. They're in a terrible no-win situation. They've been dissed by governor after governor. Hochul actually isn't as bad towards them. Again, that's a very low bar. So she's just like regular terrible towards them. Cuomo was horrible towards corrections officers. He made their life miserable. So I get it. I understand. Now, I want prisoners to be treated like human beings, of course. And I would also like corrections officers to be treated like human beings also.
Rikers Island this week, with a group of 12 young brothers who recommitted themselves to Christ. I went to see them in the morning. We prayed together because they said, this is not the first time you've been here. You've been here over and over, visiting us, talking to us, nurturing us, because I know what it's like to be locked up, because I was locked up as a child.
I know you were.
So I know what it's like to be treated unfairly because I'm dyslexic. When you do an analysis of the...
You dyslexic? You want to joke because you're dyslexic? Okay, help me with that one. Did we arrest dyslexic kids now? I don't think that's the reason, but maybe.
Of young brothers and sisters who are in Rikers or in jail, they're dealing with learning disabilities because they were never given the support that they have. That's why I have dyslexia screening, so we can catch people who are thrown overboard before they get thrown overboard. So,
okay, I get that, right? I think that's true. We should screen for dyslexia. Good idea. He's doing it now. We haven't been doing it for years. I don't know why we haven't. We're doing it now, but it's like 3rd grade or something. It's very early on. That's not why you went to jail, my friend. There's lots of people with dyslexia who don't go to jail. There's lots of them who have this, they don't go to jail. That's not the reason.
We have a philosophical disagreement.
I'm glad that you brought up Rikers.
Your feelings towards police is different from mine.
These are not.
This is the thing that he uses often, and this is a funny thing. He tries to shame people constantly. He does it because he thinks cops are amazing and awesome. And if you know me at all, I've never been anti-cop, ever. My father was in law enforcement. Never been anti-corrections officers. My father was a corrections officer. No issues with these. I am against cop worship. That's a problem, right? Cop worship is a problem. And he's right there towards cop worship. Cops are just human beings trying to do a job to the best of their ability, right? Obviously, there's bad cops, of course. I'm not going to do the bad apple thing, but obviously there are. It's true, there are bad cops. But the average cop is an average guy or gal trying to do their job to the best of their ability. If it's a crappy environment, you will have crappy outcomes. You have bad environment, you have better outcomes, right? They're trying to do their job. So you don't see me take a dump on cops ever. It's not a thing that I do. It's not my thing. And neither is anyone else. But he worships them. Like, well, you don't like cops, so therefore I'm more virtuous than you. He does that constantly. I see how you think about cops. A guy in a blue uniform does something, and now no. That's not. Olayemi doesn't like cops. I'm aware of that. She doesn't. I get it. She was a She was a district attorney, not district attorney, I'm sorry, defense attorney for a while. I get it. But you don't have to just don't worship them. You should respect them as anybody else, as any other profession, as in the group of people. Just don't worship them.
This is not about my feelings, please. This is about the actual statistics that I presented from the Federal Monitor monitoring what you do.
What do you say about her statistics, though?
See, he got smart. Sharpe got smart on this one. He was watching it back and forth, and Eric Adams was trying to play the virtue signal card in her. Basically, the equivalent of calling her a racist, right? The equivalent of that. Not that, but the equivalent of that, right? Instead, he calls her, you don't like cops, you hate law, you hate cops, playing that game, right? And then Charlemagne walks in, but what about her stats?
I mean, these are statistics.
These are Federal Monitor. Are you disputing with the Federal Monitor and the comptroller?
Think about this for a moment. Controller Brad Lander. Okay, please. But we're gonna throw people in names on who we're independent sources. He should not be one of them. Think about
disregard it, right? Because this guy's a bad guy. This is good. Personal attack on her. Personal attack on the Monitor. Not get me wrong. I probably hate the Monitor too. I'm full disclosure. I probably think he's probably garbage too. But it doesn't matter. He does it to just dismiss everything. Let's dismiss it.
this Federal Monitor.
The one that was independently elected by the people of New York, placed there.
But I was independently elected also.
And we've been.
And you also suck. So that's not really good. You suck too. Like, he might suck and you suck. I know lots of people who were elected who suck. Our governor, she sucks. Elected also.
Fair. And I'm addressing you.
So think about this for a moment. The Federal Monitor wants to take over Rikers, okay? Rikers has been dysfunctional for generations.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Even when you were a state senator. Even when you were borough president of Brooklyn. It was a disaster all those times. And you fixed it by... Oh, right, you didn't.
I came in, decreased violence, put in real incentive programs for young people there, but I didn't do it from a distance. I went to Rikers and walked the halls and talked with inmates. We're doing workshops and support groups with inmates and find out, what do you need to be here?
Okay, I got to say something here. This is a part that some of you may think is crazy. Rikers Island is not a prison. Rikers Island is a jail. So you understand that. Now, some of you might go, I don't know the difference. Let me tell you the difference. A prison is where you go to, for those who don't know, after you are convicted of a crime. So you are convicted, you then get shipped off to prison. You then serve your sentence in that prison. Jail is where you stay before you are convicted, right? Why does he have to go visit people who've been there so many times and all these things in a jail? These are now all people who have not been convicted. They spend so much time in jail, not prison. That's the problem. Fix that. Why are these people in jail 1, 2, or 3 years? Some of them will not be convicted of anything. Some of them will spend more time in jail than their actual sentence when they're convicted. So they'll spend 3 years in Rikers Island, get convicted, and get a 1-year sentence. Well, I guess, I don't know, the government owes you 2 years? How does that work? I guess you can go back and do another crime for 2 years and you're even? How does that work? That's the problem that neither of them is actually talking about. I mean, Olayemi does talk about this. She does. But he's like, well, no, we'll just be nicer to the people as we ruin their lives for multiple years. You may go, Larry, there's bad people in Rikers. Yes, then get them to prison. Get them to prison. And I'm okay with that. If they get convicted, send them to prison. Why are they sitting in Rikers?
We instituted real turnaround programs there with the sisters that's now the correction officer. I mean, that's the Commission of Corrections there. So I didn't do like other mayors. I didn't sit back and say, let me just turn my back on what's Rikers. I said to those Rikers inmates when I got elected, I'm coming here. I'm going to see what you're going through. I want to make sure you leave here better than how you got here.
Again, this is not a prison. It's a jail. This should not be a thing.
In the first place, and we started instituting programs to do so. So that same Federal Monitor, go look at the federal prisons. That Federal Monitor wanted to take over our prisons after I had it only 2 years and 3 months. No, they wanted to take over my first year. Although crime was going, violence was going down, and people.
So violence was going down his first year. Why? Because the lockdowns were ending. Violence was going down because the lockdowns were ending, right? Joe brings up a very valid point. I thought jail was less than 365 days, prison more. That's what it's supposed to be, Joe. Yes, that's what it's supposed to be. That's what they would often say. If you remember the old school, old school saying, "We'll put you in jail for a year and a day," because a year and a day made you a felon and put you in prison, because that's what it was supposed to be about. Not anymore. Now they say that for years. You're right, Joe. It's not supposed to be this way.
Say, well, Eric, people are dying on Rikers. Look at how they died. People are coming into Rikers in terrible medical conditions
and not getting their medical appointments.
It's not that they were dying because correction officers were killing them. People were coming in with heart problems, drug problems. But they were overdosing on drugs.
When will people in Rikers start to feel that? Because I know I got people that are in Rikers right now serving time, and they hate it. They think it's disgusting.
These
serving time, but they're not convicted. How'd that work?
Trying to raise awareness to it.
Who likes shells, brother? Who likes shells?
Respectfully, Mayor Adams, fundamentally, the things that you were saying is untrue. You actually cut $17 million that were used for classes for people at Rikers to re-enter society. Those were cut under your...
Check out the programs.
Those were cut under your...
Yeah, but that's probably not a bad thing. Most of those programs are garbage. It's just true. I mean, I don't mean to be mean, but for those of you know, when I ran for governor, I visited many jails and prisons, and I would talk to family members of incarcerated people. For most places you go, there's some type of waiting room before you get in and get out, before they do their screenings, and family members of people incarcerated will often stand or sit, depending on if they have they don't often have chairs. They'll stand or they'll sit there in the waiting room, waiting area, whatever the case may be. And I've chatted with them, and also the corrections, they come in and come out. So I'll do those. I've done that many times before. And the thing that you'll see constantly is that the programs are just grifts. I've often said, if you want to fix it, you have to add the corrections officers to it, and they don't. Literally what happens all the time is somebody goes to a mayor or a governor and goes, "Hi, I'm super smart guy, and I've got this plan, this program that will fix all your problems with your prisoners. Just do this, and all of a sudden, everything will be fine. And if at a low price of $10 million, it'll work." And the governor goes, "That sounds great. I don't know if I want to use you." And he goes, "Oh, by the way, I gave you $40,000 to your campaign, and so did my cousin." "Oh, you did? $10 million is yours." And that's how that actually works. Wait a minute, Larry, you're saying it's pay to play? Yes, it is pay to play. That's how it works consistently. So now in come me, smart guy, I go to the jail or the prison, and I say, "Here's my plan." And the corrections officers go, "That can never work ever. It's impossible." And I go, "I got paid. I don't care." And I implement the plan. It fails miserably, and I'm happy, and I walk away with my cash. That happens constantly. What we should be doing is asking the corrections officers what can work. And here's my example. Some of you may know there was a plan in New York State, maybe across the country now. All I know is New York State, to give iPads to inmates. And people got mad. "Oh my God, you can't give these iPads to inmates. They're rewarding bad behavior." I said, no. That's absolutely false. Ask corrections officers. And corrections officers, many of them like, "This great idea." Okay, you might say, why? Why would corrections officers want to give iPads to people? Well, they want to give iPads to people as a way of being able to reward them for good behavior and removing them for bad behavior. Now, the question is, how do you do that? Well, each prison and each jail is different. So you asked the actual corrections officers, have them work with you together, right? Some of them are going to say, "Look, it should be in a common area." Some are going to say you should give it to them and let them go into their cell, whatever. I don't decide that. They should. Let them come up with these ideas together, work together with the people on the ground. I am a business coach. It's what I do all the time. That's my day job, right? When I'm doing this, what I'm doing. And whenever you have an issue with people to fix an organization, you got to talk to the people on the ground. Who's in front of the customer? Who is on the line? Talk to them. How do they feel about it? And you do it together. We don't do that. We give money away. Nothing gets fixed. Cronies get their money, and prisoners get hammered. Their families get hammered. Corrections officers get hammered. If you get everyone together, you can find a better answer. And I don't have to know it. I don't have to know everything. I'd be able to talk with them together and make a good plan.
Those were cut under your administration.
We were spending millions of dollars.
31 people have died at Rikers since Eric Adams became mayor.
Ooh, he won't even talk to these guys face away. He's like, "I don't like you no more. You're saying bad. I'm talking to you no more."
Millions of dollars for these professional folks who do these programs, reentry programs, millions of dollars, 7 people sitting inside the class. When I came into office, I said,
That
wait a
is
minute,
not
why are we
true.
spending so much money on programs, but our people are still in these bad conditions?
This party's right. I'm gonna give Eric Adams the benefit, I'm sorry, credit where credit is due here also. He's right. So what I was just talking about. The ideas we've come up with in the past have all been pay-to-play grifts. All of them. Millions upon millions of dollars. It has just made the prisoners' families worse off, the corrections officers worse off, and it's been what I always tell you. Why does the governor want to have this money so she can give these jobs away and get paid? It's all pay to play.
People have profitized poverty. They're making so much money off of Black and brown people because it's a lucrative business. They come up with all these different programs, all these different ways. And then when you go to them and say, let me see the results of the programs that we're paying you millions of dollars for. And then you look and see, well, who's in charge of these programs? They don't look like us.
Moments ago, you said you instituted.
Ooh, he went with the racial piece. He said, don't look like us. I'm not sure. I mean, look, I get it. You want to have people who look like the prisoners. I get it. And there's a lot of prisoners who are Black. I get that. But that doesn't mean your system's any better or you any less of a grifter because you happen to have darker skin, right? Melanated skin doesn't make you by default less of a grifter, right? I'm not sure that's accurate. But again, what you will find him do, of course, is go to race. He will go to race also. Remember, he's still Democrat. He will still go to race. Guaranteed he will go to race. He just goes there. And don't get me wrong, there's time when race matters. You've heard me speak about race. I will talk about race. But when it matters, it doesn't matter in this case. That isn't the issue right now. Roger says, just have Olay on your show. Do you think I haven't asked her? She's in a breakfast club. She's too cool for me, Roger. She's too cool for school. She's going to hang out with me. I've asked her more than once. She won't come on. She's got her own stuff going on. She's far too cool for me. So I'd love to have her on. If you happen to be watching, Olay, come on whenever you want to. You tell me, I will find time for you.
Programs. And when I brought up the fact that you actually cut programs, now you're anti-program. Okay, 31, at least 31 people have died at Rikers since you became mayor. That's why they're pushing for a receivership.
Fatherless No More program. Fatherless No More. This was the brother, the pastor. Fatherless No More is called the program. And I would encourage you to come and check it out. This brother here, instead of saying, pay me millions of dollars to do a program to turn around the lives of our young brothers in Rikers. He doesn't want money. He's committed to the cause. Well, but you have these professional programs that were in place. And when I went to them and said, show me the results of what you've done in these programs. Show me what we produce.
I literally said all of this 6 years ago. If you were watching my campaign, I literally said this. I think I said this outside of, what prison was I outside? Was I outside of Auburn? I think it's Auburn. In New York State, Auburn is the oldest prison in New York State. I think it was Auburn. It might have been Attica, but I think it was Auburn. Auburn, if you ever go out in that area, that prison looks almost like a castle, right? It's like a castle. It's the oldest one in New York State. I think I was there when I said, I forgot, but I bring this up constantly.
For millions of dollars. As in many of these programs in the city that I'm saying, we're no longer paying y'all to just play us year after year. Yep. So Fatherless No More is turning around the lives of people, not being paid millions of dollars for it. If we're really true to what we said we want to do, why do we have to pay you millions of dollars to do it? You know, why don't you come on Rikers like I do and volunteer? Why don't you?
You don't volunteer, you getting paid. You don't volunteer, it's your job.
Come and really be committed, because people are not committed to us, brother. They've been playing us. You know, this is a street hustle that have been going on for years.
Street hustle is almost all of New York State. Okay, he is correct, but he's acting like it's a street hustle in the prison. The prison industrial complex, street hustle. The migrant industrial complex, street hustle. The homeless industrial complex, street hustle. And he's enjoying the other hustles. He's getting cuts of all of it. And so is Her Majesty, Queen Kathy, first of her name.
And people have eaten off of the dysfunctionality of watching us.
Why do you think our budget keeps exploding? New York State's budget keeps exploding, even though the people are leaving and the service is garbage. Why? Because people are eating. It is a massive grift. All these people know that we are the Roman Empire and that Rome is burning. They are simply trying to grift while the grifting's good before the entire place is up in ashes.
stay in these permanent states of being.
A lot of people are upset too. They feel like the prison reform is bad for New York City. They're saying people do crimes, they get out immediately, and then they commit the crime. Have you seen an officer that passed away a couple of days ago? Rest in peace to him, and always healing energy to his family. But they say that individual was arrested for a gun and has a record the size of we don't know what. And they're saying that people are doing crimes and they're getting back out. Officers don't want to arrest people. A lot of officers don't even want to be officers anymore because the people that they're arresting get out so fast. So
also
what do you say to that?
And brother, let me tell you something. I say this term all the time. Idealism collides with realism.
This idealism collides with realism. See, this is the smoothness I was telling you about. He is smooth. I mean, look, Olay got him under pressure, right? And he's happy other guys there to kind of break because they feel awkward because she is just punching, right? And they're like, oh. So let me say something. They're like the ref getting in. And then he could say something smooth and survive for a little bit. So nicely done. He is smooth.
Far leftist mindset.
Now, see, this is another great assault she makes. Now he calls her she's a far leftist. Now, the funny part about Olay in this case is she'd be like, yeah, that's true. Like, she would not be upset by this title. And usually when mainstream Democrats like him, right, he's establishing Democrat. When an establishing Democrat says, these far leftists, most mainstream Democrats go, yeah, these crazy far leftists, yeah. Or if someone's there, they go, I'm not a far leftist. They would immediately, defend themselves. It's not me. But she's like, yeah, okay. Olay doesn't care. She is a far leftist and doesn't care. I mean, if she would not deny that if he said it at all. 100%. Yes, 100%.
That believes we should not have a criminal justice system in place. We're going to look like some of these other cities that you're seeing with a lack of a criminal justice system in place. We're losing correction officers.
Yep.
We're losing district attorneys.
True.
We're losing police officers. We're losing probation officers.
Now, losing probation and correction officers is a problem. Losing district attorneys, not that mad about that one. But probation officers, we need. We got to get people having a second chance, 100%. We need better probation officers too, better training. We do need that. The probation system is in trouble. And you find a lot of the actual officers want to do better, and they can't. Most people who go back in jail for probation go in for a timing issue. I'm not joking. The vast majority, I've talked to probation officers, and they have no choice. Now, New York State has been better recently. They've been making some changes. It's been better. But still, so you're supposed to show up at 9 o'clock on Tuesday. You show up at 9:30. You go back in jail. I'm not joking. So you've got a job, you've got a place, you're doing something right, and then all of a sudden, you're a half hour late, and you're back in handcuffs. Insanely stupid. We've gotten better, but that has been a big problem. And even the probation officers are like, I don't want to put you in jail. This is stupid. So a probation officer has an option. They can put you in jail or they can lie. And some have lied. But then when they get caught through an audit, they get punished or even fired for helping someone who was late for half an hour. They're back in action. The probation officer's done the right thing, morally right thing, the legally wrong thing, the morally right thing, and they're punished. Nobody would support them. They're like, I can't do it. I got my own bills to pay. I got my own bills to pay. So I got to put you in jail. They would hate it. So we have to work on that for sure. There's a lot of things we have to work on. 100% he's right. There are some issues there. They're getting better at least, which is something. But look, not only are those people leaving, people in general are leaving. New York State's losing 300,000 people a year. It's not good.
We're losing school safety agents. Every piece of our public safety apparatus that the everyday working class person wants, we're seeing it all of a sudden erode, and we're going to lose the foundation of our prosperity. And that's
there. You say public safety.
Public safety,
of course. Now here's an issue though. There's a way around this. There is. We can even lose some of these people. So way around it. Two things. Number one, you could stop arresting people for victimless crimes. Number one, end that. Then we don't need as many cops. We don't need as many district attorneys. We don't need as many corrections officers if you stop arresting people for victimless crimes. Number one. Number two, let people defend themselves. New York City, you are not allowed to defend yourself. If you defend yourself, you're going to jail. You're going to Rikers Island, the most violent jail in the entire country, which is why it has a federal monitor, because it's that violent, right? That's why it has a federal monitor, because it's that violent. The most violent jail in the entire country. You'll be going there, and you'll probably spend at least a couple years there. Odds are. Wow. because you defended yourself. That's why we have so much crime, because they can't defend themselves. People look at people who are weak, go after them. Imagine if we could actually have a second, imagine if we were a sanctuary city for the Second Amendment. Wouldn't that be nice? People could defend themselves. Imagine if you go in to rob a store and the owner pulls out a firearm and says, drop it or I will shoot you. And then you don't, and he shoots you. Now, right now in right now in New York City, that guy's life is over. The guy who got robbed, his life is over. Right? That's the end. His life's over. No doubt. What should happen? Let it happen. If he does that, and the governor will go, I pardon you. You're pardoned. Get out. What are you doing in jail? Get out. You defended your life. You defended your property. All good. Oh my God. Things would get better. You wouldn't need all that stuff. So there's a way of fixing it without having to deal with that. Plus, bail reform would be nice. Now, bail reform, as I always say, the concept of bail reform is amazing. The concept is wonderful. You should be trying to make bail more fair. Absolutely true. What we've done is a disaster, but it's repairable. Very simple repairable. Simply state bail reform, the new rules work if you are a first-time offender. Done. That's all you need. First-time offender. First-time offender, most of the people committing crimes in New York City today, most of them, I'm not joking, the majority of them are multiple-time offenders. That's true. Bail reform for those who are first-time offenders. We're good. Problem solved.
So when you look at these cases, we have three problems in this city that if you dig into it, you'll see how they continue to intersection between each other.
What are they?
We have a recidivist problem.
This is
True.
It's a revolving door.
She's wrong, 100%.
38 people that assaulted transit workers were arrested 1,100 times.
I want you to hear that. You guys thought I was exaggerating in one of my other shows when I said they're arrested 10, 20 times. You thought I was exaggerating. He just said it. His numbers. 40 people arrested 1,100 times. He said 600 last time he said. So I don't know what number is. Last time he talked, he said 600. Let's assume for a moment it's 600. They're arrested 15 times. And then Olay will sit here and go, there's not a recidivism problem. 15 times? And if he or 1,100, if he's right, that's like 20 times or whatever the number is. I mean, it's a lot. It's more than 15. 30 times? Whatever the number is. My math isn't that good, I guess, right now. But it's a lot more. That's true. And how will we deal with that? As I just said, bail reform. First-time offenders. There we go. First-time offenders. And we're good.
545 people that were arrested for shoplifting were arrested 7,500 times.
500 people who were shoplifting were arrested 7,500 times. That's 15 times they were arrested. 15. Problem solved. If you just do first-time offender. I would take second-time offender. I would take once you've been convicted once. Fine. Insert thing here. This is blanket. This is terrible. Right? This is terrible. It's a bad idea. You could just fix this that way. But he's right. And Olay will say no. Olay thinks bail reform's fine. She does not agree with me at all. This one, she's completely wrong.
The person who shot that police officer, his driver was just arrested for having a gun in April of last year.
Well, you probably shouldn't arrest him for that, right? You should be able to defend yourself, right? And think about this. This is the issue. And I will say something controversial that many of you may not like. If we didn't have these terrible gun laws, that cop wouldn't have been shot. He wouldn't have been. Why? Because they were scared because they had guns on them. And they knew that they had guns on them. It's a 5-year minimum sentence once they're convicted. Right. The reason why this guy's out is because his time hasn't come. Eventually, he'll have to make a plea deal or whatever, and he'll go to jail for at least 5 years for having a gun. That's how it works in New York State. In New York State, if you have a gun, you are by default, a violent felon. Even though you've done nothing with it whatsoever, you have done nothing whatsoever with that gun, you are by default a violent felon. Those guys knew if that cop caught them, that they were going to jail for at least 5 years, if not more. So they thought, I'd rather shoot than get caught and go to jail. Yeah, controversial, but I'll tell you, it's true. They did that because they said, I'm not going to jail. I'm not going to prison. I'd rather shoot somebody than do that. That's what they said. Well, if it wasn't for that, if you could have just had his gun to defend himself, he'd be like, officer, yes, I have a firearm. I'm not doing anything wrong. Yeah.
Now he's back doing the same thing all over again. These guys
doing what thing? Having a gun? Doing what thing? Did you arrest him for something else? Did he rob somebody? Was there some victim? If there's a victim, okay, I get it. Put him in jail. Arrest him, 100%. He just had a gun because he's scared, because he hangs out with bad guys. I get it. Doesn't mean he's one. Did you catch him for something?
He's arrested 10, 15 times. It's a small population of people that are repeated offenders. The second problem that we have in this in the city is a severe mental health problem. I'm not talking about just somebody that's depressed, someone that's
and what made that super horrible and worse in every way, shape, or form? Our dumb lockdowns, which he was behind 100%. Our stupid lockdowns, which he was behind 100%. The lockdowns made everything worse. Prior to lockdowns, before lockdowns, if you were a New York City cop, the odds of you being killed were astronomical. I'm not joking. Before lockdowns, you had a higher chance of being killed by mistake by a fellow officer in friendly fire than being killed by a bad guy. That's how safe it was to be a cop before the lockdowns. After lockdowns, cops get killed now in New York City. That wasn't a thing before. That literally happened night and day. Lockdowns, cops get killed. I'm not joking. You made more prohibition, this time of labor and work and freedom, and more cops died. And there's still, that happened from that. If you had mental illness before lockdowns, you were told you cannot go meet people, family and friends, and you cannot go to your doctor. And now you're extra scared. Yeah, all of that is happening. Happened back then. Everyone who had a mental illness got worse. If you didn't have, and you could get medicine. So now you had to go someplace else. What'd you do? You went on drugs. Happened to literally thousands of New Yorkers. So if you had mental illness and you didn't have an addiction problem, now you got both. You had an addiction problem, you didn't have mental illness, now you got both. Because now addicts couldn't get their what they wanted either. They couldn't go home. They had no chance of getting success. So for 2 years, we locked everybody down and made everything worse. And you were 100% behind that. The lockdowns made everything worse. Everything.
Was going through a bad day. I'm talking about a severe mental health problem. Go look at these cases of assaulting passengers, pushing people on the subway track. The cat that pushed the person on the subway track the other day, in and out of the system. And so when I came into office, I said, we can't keep just walking by these people.
And what did I say back in 2018? What did I say in 2022? I said we come up with an actual system in the subway to allow people who are in trouble, cops who are down there, instead of having to arrest people and knock them over the head and put them in jail, take them to the last car on every other train. We call it the carrying caboose. I'm not joking. The carrying caboose, the last car of every other train. In there is going to be private security, as I always say, because people who are addicts or people who are mentally ill, they're afraid of cops. Just true. They just are. Okay, private security. Private security is there with people who are actual workers they all should have, of course, they would all have Wi-Fi there. Why? Because our trains would be rebuilt. From my first plan, I talked about letting cargo come into the MTA. So there'd actually be Wi-Fi throughout the entire train system. So you can go there. Oh, Johnny, have a seat. Let me see who you are. Check you out. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Did you get your medication? Are you okay? What's going on? And it's all done by a private company. And how do we pay for it? Not through dollars. No, not through U.S. tax dollars. No. Sponsorships of companies who want to look good for whatever reason. They've got some branding issue, right? Oh, they spilled something out in the Gulf of Mexico. Sponsor the carrying caboose for 3 years. You'll be good, right? I'm not joking when I say that. People who want to look good for whatever reason, they can sponsor carrying cabooses left and right. That is what we could have done. I talked about it years ago. It still would have worked, still could work. People who are in trouble go where people want to congregate. It's what they do. They go into the subway system and they're literally schizophrenic. When they see people, they sometimes think they're the enemy. It's what they do. So cops have options. What a cop can do? Arrest them, knock them over the head, or get them to the carrying caboose of people who know who they are, know how to handle them. You can now take the private security and train them how to handle this. Train them how to handle it. There are people who know how to handle this. You train them. They get better and better at it. All good. This could work. Absolutely. So John says, Larry, what would happen if you ran for mayor? If I run for mayor next year, I get to be in the debate stage and say all these things to Eric Adams. Not a bad deal. Not a bad deal.
That are dealing with severe mental health issues, we need to give them wraparound services and care. The far left pushed against me.
Oh my
You
gosh.
inhumane. You just want to take people off the streets. No, I said no. In this city, people are not going to live. People are not going to live in encampments. They're going to live in tents. Go look at Los Angeles. Go look at Oregon. Go look at all these other cities where you see tent cities, San Francisco. You see tent cities. People, when I went out in January and February when I got elected in 2022, I went out without my security team and started visiting people in tents and encampments and started talking to them.
Why'd you go without your security team? Because what I told you, they are afraid of cops. That's why you have to have private security. They are afraid of cops.
Bipolar, schizophrenic, human waste, drug paraphernalia, stale food. They didn't even realize they were in that state. One cat was an ex-police officer that I spoke with, didn't even realize, started seeing and talking to himself. I said, I'm not going to do this. My city's not going to be like San Francisco.
This party's right. I'm going to give him this party's right. He's totally right.
It's not going to be like these other cities where you're watching people living on streets in tents and tents. You don't see that in New York City. Third problem we have is random acts of violence. Those random acts of violence are being highlighted. If you have 24 hours in a day and something that happens to you in an hour in a day, you start to define yourself as that entire day.
No, I think he's got a valid point there. But the random acts are the worst. And that's the problem. That the first two fix the random acts. It's the old Joker meme from The Dark Knight, right? He says, I forgot the quote, but it's something like, if a bunch of gangbangers shoot each other up, nobody's concerned. If a bunch of soldiers get blown up in that truck, nobody's concerned because it's all part of the plan. It's when something out of the ordinary happens. I've completely blown the quote, but you know what I'm talking about. And it's true, right? If we expect it, we actually feel better. We do. We actually feel better because, that's what's supposed to be. Oh, gangbangers shot each other? Oh, that's fine. That's not fine. But I think we feel as okay, that's normal. Some guy pushed somebody into, oh my God, that's random. It could be me. See, we think I'm not a gangbanger, so I'm safe. That's how we think. Oh, someone gets pushed in the street. Oh my God, it could be me. This is a valid point. It is a problem. Patty says the drug trafficking will never stop. Caring for the addicts is the only way to slow it down. Yes, Patty. Yes. And sadly, we can't make it cops because a lot of people who are addicts are afraid of cops. It's got to be a private sector answer. It's got to be a community answer. Give them a meal and talk to them. Yeah, but something else. You're right, but something else about that. And this is very controversial. And if any of you listening, I think Patty's had the same situation I've had. If you have an addict in your life, you know what I'm about to say. When the addict is jonesing for their drug, they don't want to hear anything you have to say. You sometimes got to let the addict have their drug, which seems crazy. But if you have a caring caboose, they would have a legal, like a methadone or whatever, right? They have, I don't know the details, but they have something like that to get, or maybe even a cannabis product in theory. Who knows? Whatever is the right, I don't know the specifics, but whatever they would have, the thing that would get the person to not be jonesing for their drug. So to your point, Patty, you can then talk to them and they might want to eat, right? All homeless do not start out as addicts with mental health issues, correct? Also true. Big homeless, someone starts in a mental health issue and drug addiction. Yes, yeah, you're right. Once you are homeless, you didn't get to the things, correct? It can go either way, 100% true. Absolutely true. My mom would have been homeless if I wasn't with her when she got out of prison. I completely agree, yes. Michael Voss is watching. How are you, sir? He says he is far left. He said so on CNBC after the election. He thinks people got. He actually isn't. He said that to keep those people happy. He isn't far left. He's left. He's Democrat. But he's much more establishment left than he is far left. Olay is far left. He's much more establishment left than Olay is. I mean, it's not even close. If you listen to her talk, she's far more left than he is.
Those random acts of violence are plastered on social media. They're plastered on
the NYPD
newspapers.
Twitter page.
They're plastered on
everything.
She's
not wrong.
People begin to believe that, I'm living in a city that's out of control. We are not.
She made a good point though. If NYPD is reposting that kind of stuff, what are we supposed to think?
I said
no.
I said at the beginning.
Everybody got a phone, brother.
No. NYPD's page is doing this. Has recently been there so much so that they're arguing with journalists on there. It's NYPD on their own Twitter pages that are posting and sensationalizing crime. And I said this at the.
What do you expect? NYPD wants to make sure they keep getting paid. I get it. I'm not mad at them. I get it. They're supposed to.
You said that there's a difference between perception and reality, how people feel afraid versus how safe New York actually is. And I agree with you, but I said that it's your own rhetoric and NYPD's rhetoric that plays into that. And you did it just now, because the reality is a condition of release for everybody, for every crime, whether it be non-bail eligible or bail eligible, is that if you commit a crime and you're rearrested, that you bail can and will be set on you. So that's the first thing. Second of all,
but here's where she's wrong. She says that, but judges aren't doing any of that whatsoever, right? And I spoke to a couple judges about this, which made me upset. A couple of upstate I spoke to, and they were very forward with me. They said, I said to them, and this is, I get mad at judges constantly. Probably not good for me if I get arrested. One's gonna be pissed off and probably put me away forever. But I do, because what she's saying is accurate, and which is why I thought bail reform wouldn't be that bad when I read it. I read the law too. I thought it wouldn't be that bad. I thought we could fix it in the courts. The judges wouldn't let this happen. The judges would fix this. And boy, was I wrong. But I didn't think judges would be as bad as they were. And I asked them, because judges, what they're doing is they're letting everybody out. Like, no, I can't touch it. I can't touch it. It's not close. If it's not 100%, I can't touch it. They are erring on the side of letting them out versus erring on the side of locking them up, which is what I thought they would do. And boy, was I wrong. I asked the judge, I said, what's going to happen if you lock a guy up? If you know he literally has been arrested 10 times. He's been convicted 3 times. He's like, I know. The judge tells me, he's like, I know. So lock him up. I can't do it. Why? You don't understand. We get pressure. They get pressure from their own party. Yes. Judges get pressure from their own party. They get pressure from other judges. Why are you doing that? Don't do that. Let them out. Don't do that. The judges are worried about how they're going to look, not about what's right for the person or the law. They're not. I am surprised, so surprised when I heard that. I was shocked. More than one judge told me that they were worried about that. So what Ole is saying is correct, accurate, but in practice, not done at all. They're letting them all out. You see it. It's happening constantly. So legally, she's correct. In practice, she's 100% wrong.
They have conducted multiple studies, but the Brennan Center literally just put out one. Less than 2% of anybody in New York City that's released on bail is rearrested for any violent crime. More importantly,
that's literally what he just said. Okay, 2 things. She is now being disingenuous now. He's saying that it's those few people. That's what he's saying. It's a 2%. He's agreeing with you. I'm agreeing too. So let's have bail reform for the first-time offenders. So those 98% will get bail. Great. But those 2% who are doing most of the crimes would stay in jail. Not just that, she goes, nonviolent. How about all shoplifters? There were about, as he said, 500 to 600 shoplifters who are literally destroying small businesses across New York City. You are watching small businesses and all those bodegas and all those, they're leaving the city. They're leaving because of crime. CVS's, Walgreens, Jack's, they're leaving New York City because of crime. Because of those 500 people who keep doing it. This is disingenuous.
In the same breath that you want to sensationalize, we want to highlight and point out, an officer was killed the other day, which is a rare occurrence across the United States, but let alone in New York. New York police officers have killed at least 7 people this year, including a 19-year-old. An NYPD officer killed a 19-year-old in Queens yesterday.
I'm not going to dismiss the loss of the life of an innocent person that wears a uniform to protect us.
But you do.
See, he goes back again. He can't stop but do but you hate cops. He can't stop doing that. And he can't, but you hate cops. So you're irrelevant because but she doesn't hate, well, she probably does hate cops. But he worships cops. That's why it's so obvious, right? The average New Yorker doesn't hate or worship cops. Some people worship cops, some people hate cops. The average New Yorker doesn't care. It's like another person. Half the people know someone who's a cop or worked for a corrections officer or something, right? They know that. So they're like, yeah, that's Uncle Joe or something, right? He worships cops. She hates cops. That's why that happens. He will always fall back to, but you hate cops, therefore you're irrelevant.
The 31 people dead at Rikers, and the 19-year-old killed yesterday.
I feel like I don't want to take you out of context, and I don't want people to all of a sudden criticize that you're being dismissive of a young man being shot
Mayor
and
Adams,
killed.
that's not going to work on me.
I'm not trying to.
He's like, that's not going to work because she hates cops. She doesn't care. You can call her anti-cop all day. She's like, yep, 100%. Yep. There's the power. There's power in that, right? It's like as a libertarian, you say government doesn't work. Yes, I hate government. Yes, like that's not a thing for me, right? You're not insulting me when you say that. Well, you would just make sure there's no government. Yes. You want no taxes. Yes. You're not insulting me when you say that. When you tell her you hate cops, you're not insulting her. She's like, yeah, whatever. There's some power in that.
Work anything on you. I lost a member of the police department the same way I go to see the mother of the 11-month-old baby that was shot in the head.
Oh, hold on. Michael says Dollar Tree and 99-cent stores are closing across the country announced it. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely true.
When I first became mayor, I sat in a hospital with her. The same way I go visit these mothers who lose their children to gun violence, I go see them.
Yes, but not the mothers of the people who are dying in Rikers.
Just as I go to see the family member of a slain police officer, I go visit those parents that lose their loved ones to violence.
Are you visiting the family of the?
Do you do that?
First of all, yes, I did. I held a Riker. I represented hundreds.
You went to visit the family member of a slain officer?
No, not the slain officer.
Okay, of course you didn't.
No, but what about the next?
Of course she didn't. She hates cops. Of course she would do that. But again, he's like, of course you didn't. See, you're dismissed. She doesn't care. Now, people who do worship cops who are watching this are dismissing her right now, right? But she already lost that audience, right? She was never going to win that audience. If you're someone who worships cops, you're never going to listen to Olay. You've already lost her, right? Guaranteed. You've lost her already. Well, she's lost you, I should say, already. Already done. And that's what the mayor's doing. See, you hate cops, therefore you're irrelevant, which is, it's a bad argument. It's the same thing as going, you're a racist. It's the same thing, just a different side, right? The right usually does it, which is my point, Mike, as you mentioned, you're saying he's a far left. No, far left people hate cops, right? So he's not far left, right? He's a mainstream Democrat is what he really is. He's a mainstream Democrat. He's not a far left. He's not. She is. He is not. So yeah, I just want to bring that piece up. By the way, guys, if you like what you're seeing, please do what I'm always asking you to do. If you haven't clicked the like button yet, please click it. It does matter. I bug you because it matters. People need to see this. Please click it. If you're watching on Twitter or on X, repost this, retweet this. Do it right now so people can see this. It's important. If you want to support the show, super chat me on Larry Sharpe YouTube. You can do that. Super chat me. Your chat goes right to the front. It's awesome. If you want to support this channel so that you get preferential treatment, you show the world how much you adore me because I'm so handsome and good looking. That's true. Then become a member. Click that join button on the Larry Sharpe YouTube page. $49 per month. It's $5, but I'm good looking and I give you tons of content. And you can actually respond to me, which a lot of these places you're watching, you can't respond. I respond to you live. All my stuff you see is live. A lot of people just giving you videos. They're off doing something else. I'm sitting there hustling with you in my bunker. So see, worth the money. Absolutely worth it. You should do it.
18-year-old that was killed yesterday by NYPD in Queens when he called for help. Have you said anything about that? Are you visiting them?
Yeah, first of all, is
New York safer or not?
I'm sorry.
Is New York safer or not?
Okay.
See, this is what I love. Charlemagne and Envy are looking at this going, wait a minute, this is getting bad. They jump in and save Eric more than once. Let's save him again. I love that. Patty says, I think the average New Yorker thinks of police like they think of criminals. They both are only relevant if they are in their lives. That's a valid point. Yes, I think you're right. And he was a cop, right? Eric Adams was a cop in the past, so he's very close to cops. I get that. Absolutely. New York says Larry live. Yes, absolutely. Larry is live. It's 100% true. Yes.
We just showed the graph that we put up, right? There's a graph that shows how many people murders based on 100,000 people. Mm-hmm. It shows a graph, each city, the large cities in America.
Okay.
New York is the least. New York is the safest big city in America.
Should we say crime is down or should we say it's safe? Because I think it's a difference between saying crime is down and saying something is safe.
And say, well, random's
like if I'm 330 pounds and I lose 30, I'm still fat.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
But random acts, that's why what I must do with New Yorkers is give them the facts, not give them what people are spewing out there. The facts are clear, as I've always stated. We are the safest big city in America. And as people talk about reporting the reports that come out and reporting how things are done.
Yeah, but if that's true, then why are you putting the National Guard in? Right? Why is that?
No one wants to report the fact that everyone is saying across the globe, New York is the safest big city in America.
Are we trending the right way, Olayemi?
I think that New York, I don't dispute that New York is safe. What I dispute is how Mayor Adams' own rhetoric is the reason why people don't feel safe. I agree that New Yorkers don't feel safe because of the way that NYPD, the Post, and Mayor Adams go about sensationalizing crime. And I'm asking you to talk about it differently.
And listen, and you have a right to your opinion and your belief. You and I have a philosophical disagreement.
That's what it
that's
is.
Many.
It's not about the philosophical disagreement.
Many people on the far left disagree with me.
Many people on the far left. Again, this is Guy Lowe. He's good, right? Anybody listening who considers himself a mainstream Democrat, right, who's listening to the show, when it's live show, is gonna be like, yeah, she's a far lefty. You tell him, Adams.
Many people on the far left, they say, Eric, people should be allowed to sleep on the streets. No matter what, they should be allowed to sit on your stoop and inject themselves with drugs. They should be allowed to go in stores and steal whatever they want. They should.
You kind of let them do all those things.
Have to pay on the subway system. They should be allowed to carry a gun and be able to come out the next.
Okay, no one on the far left said allowed to carry a gun. That part you just made up, right? Only libertarians are saying that, but yeah.
Like people disagree with me all the time.
Earlier, you asked me to point out the rhetoric. Earlier, you asked me to point out specifically what you say to fairmonger about crime. So I just would like to say Exhibit A, like what you literally just did. You continue to say in this that New York is the safest big city, while simultaneously you are the one sensationalizing the crime.
I point out facts.
Which is a fact. Is it safe or is it not?
All I know is when I came in office and I stated that I wanted to I'm not allowing people to sleep in tents on our streets. They're going to get the care that they deserve. The far left attack.
No, we attacked you because you made it so that people could be involuntarily committed.
Yes. Listen, if I'm sitting down with you, brother, and I'm in a tent with you on encampment, and I'm seeing human waste in the corner, I'm seeing stale food, I'm seeing drug paraphernalia, and I'm hearing you talking about you only here until the spaceship comes to take you to your next planet. Yeah. You need to be involuntarily committed.
Didn't I just say about sensationalized kinds of stories?
This is what I saw. This is what I saw.
Yeah.
I see. In this case, I'm gonna go back. I mean, I've been beating about it, but he's right on this one. He's right. Right? When you have people who are literally harming others, taking their food, taking their space, taking their property, doing these things that are bad, I would rather them be involuntarily, put into a facility than be arrested and put into Rikers, right? If I have a choice, and in reality, I have three choices. I let them continue to destroy the community, option one, which many cities are allowing, which I think is a terrible idea. I incarcerate them in prison or jail, or I put them in a facility. Those are basically my three choices in America today. Now, what I want, of course, as I brought this up with my police reform, was to create a system to where those people can go get help without having to be incarcerated. But we're not doing that because we stop that constantly. New York City stops that for whatever reason. It's always like a parking issue or something. We stop it. Bloomberg was bad at it. De Blasio was terrible at it. He's bad at it too. There have been local people who've tried to help people in these spots in the past. We've always wanted to stop it because it wasn't under government control. They want to keep government control. If you don't want government control, there are communities. So I'll give you one that example. This is from probably 15 years ago, give or take. There's a group of people who were literally driving around the large, I think it was a large trailer. And in the back was a shower, mobile showers. So if you are homeless, you can go in, take a shower, and clothes, and get clean clothes. Free. These are people who are nonprofit. They chose to do this. They knew that for the people, this is kind of what the Patty was talking about. A lot of times people find themselves being homeless, and they want to get themselves back in life. They want to find that job. They want to do that thing. How are you going to get a job when you can't shower and change your clothes? How are you going to finally go, I got to go back to my brother or my sister or my cousin or my mom or my dad? How are you going to go back and have any dignity if you haven't showered in 4 weeks? This is a real thing. So, mobile showers. Take a shower, change your clothes, go back out, go do your thing. That was the thing we could do, right? They would clean up while the guy was there. They clean up the whole deal. No, because it's a menace to our streets. Constantly. So without allowing that, which I would allow and assist and encourage, you only have three options. I'll take his option in this case. I know it sucks. It's the best of the three.
This is what I saw.
You were there? Because the activists that were actually there at the encampments you had torn down, you weren't there, but they were there when they were being arrested.
People are also upset that they feel like too much money's going to migrants and you're cutting too many programs, right? They're saying you're cutting the
He jumped off and said
funding.
170 million.
They're saying that you're cutting so many different funding for other people.
Love this question, brother.
People are feeling like, you know, they never have money for us, but as soon as migrants come to the country, they find money.
And listen, people have a right to be angry. You know who's even more angry than they are? I am. I've been to Washington 10 times. 10 times to talk about this subject. So people got a right to be pissed off of what they're doing to New York City.
How can we fix that where these, like, I mean, we cut a lot of programs.
170 million.
But hold on, let's talk about that.
One day kids couldn't go to school because migrants took over the school.
No, that's not. That wasn't accurate.
Okay,
let's deal with that. We always utilize our school buildings during the time of crisis. And if we're saying to ourselves, if there's some amazing, when we had the major fire when I first became mayor, and we saw that fire in the Bronx,
this is true.
We had to take a school to take care of those people who lived in the building temporarily. When we have major,
but those were New Yorkers who live and work in New York, right? They pay taxes in the Bronx, so you got to use a school building that, in theory, they pay taxes to, and it makes sense. No one's mad at local people who had a fire or some problem, and then the local, government building is used to assist them. No one's happy about that. His point is, we got migrants coming in here. They hit the school and kids can't go to school. That's a whole different answer. No one's mad because there's an earthquake or a fire or something, and a local school that people pay local taxes to, supports these people in need. No one's mad about that. It's not what he said.
Storms, we take a school to use it temporarily. Schools is part of the resources of the city. And thank God we had something called remote learning, where young people are still able to go on to learn. But we can't say that we will use a school building during an emergency, but we're not going to do it for children that are migrants and asylum seekers.
You publicly oppose remote learning and remote work.
Here are the things that are crucial about the migrant asylum seekers that we need to put to rest, that people don't realize. Number one, I don't have the legal authority to stop the buses from coming in. That's against law. I don't have the.
Okay, what if you did? What if you stopped them? This is the thing I love when people say, I don't have the authority. What if he did? What if he put NYPD right there? What if he did that and said, nope, turn around. Nope, you can't get off. Nope, turn around. Get out of here. What if he did that? What would happen? Would the FBI arrest him? Would New York State impeach him and remove him from the mayorship? Would the federal government fine him? Right? What would happen? It's supposedly Governor Abbott sent him, right? Is Governor Abbott going to Texas declare war on New York? Is that going to happen? What's your punishment? There is none. That's what I told the judges. I was like, judges, lock him up. What's your punishment? You're not going to get impeached. They're like, no, I'm not. They're not going to fire you. It's like, no, they can't fire me. You're not firing judges. If a judge actually kept the guy in jail, there's no punishment. What if he does it? There's no punishment. It's illegal. So what? Lots of stuff's illegal. Have the laws we pass are garbage laws passed by empty suits in Albany who don't know anything. Empty suits and empty heads. Yes. So what would have happened? Nothing. So I have to let them in? You're spending, he said, his words, this migrant crisis will destroy New York, is what he said. Destroy New York. So your option is destroy New York or just tell them no. Now, I'm not saying you should tell them no. I don't think you should tell them no. I think you should process the migrants. I'm not against the migrants coming at all. You have to have a plan. You have to process them. Why don't you just create a process? As bad as de Blasio was, and he was a terrible mayor. He was the worst mayor that I can ever remember in the time of mayors. He was a terrible mayor. Even he said, give him IDs, do something. Even he did that. And that was against the law. He did it anyway. He did it. What about you? Who arrested de Blasio? I mean, I wish they had, but nobody did. Sadly, they should have, but nobody arrested him. This is a cop-out. That's what this is. It's a blatant cop-out. Again, I'm not saying you should do it, but again, the points I brought up, sometimes what he's done, I'm not unhappy about the ideas, but I'm unhappy that he's lying about it and being disingenuous. That's what I'm bothered by. That part really bothers me completely because he shouldn't. So grab a couple of these if I could. Shelly says, mobile laundromats like they have during natural disasters. Yes, exactly, Shelly. Yes, but this was actually just showers. The problem with you could do laundromats, but this didn't have that because so many of the people who were homeless in New York at the time, their clothes was in tatters. They weren't going to wash them. It was garbage, right? They've been throwing the clothes out, just giving them new clothes. But yes, that would also work. I think that would totally work. Absolutely, that would totally work, 100%. So, Shelley also goes on, righteous indignation from politicians who refuse to close the border and then turn the National Guard on their own people. Insanity at its finest. Yes. Roger says, Larry, we need to get them into permanent housing, guaranteed that we all maintained, not mobile showers. Roger, we are nowhere near that. I would take any community solution, right? The problem, and you know it, you saw one of the shows on it. It has become a migrant industrial complex where people just get rotated through terrible places and landlords get tons of cash. And people who are giving money to politicians get tons of cash. I will take mobile showers over that. Baby steps, my friend. I'll take all of them. Baby steps, my friends. There we go. No, Mike says, don't break laws as they get off the bus to detain illegals. Well, look, all I'm saying is he's saying he has no power. That's a lie. I'm saying use your power to fix the situation. I think Roger's concept is the right concept. I wouldn't just get them permanent housing. You have to process them because most of these people who are migrants, what they want to do is they want to work. That's what most of them want to do. And most communities would help them. You see it. That's happening right now. Most of the things that are happening right now, you see it happening. They are actually taking people and the people who are working, the migrants are getting jobs all over the place.
The authority to allow them to work, which they want to do. That's
True.
against the law. I don't have the authority to say, I'm not going to house you and give you 3 meals a day. It's against the law for me to do it. I don't have the authority to deport someone that commits a crime here in this city and turn them over to ICE. That's against the law. So what we had to do was...
So you're telling me, to be clear, what he just said, if someone commits a crime, it's against the law to give them to ICE. What would ICE do? What would ICE do? Would ICE go, sorry, this guy committed a crime. He's a convicted felon and you're giving him to us? Well, no, you got to keep him there. ICE would take him and deport him. Of course they would. And what would happen to Eric Adams? Nothing. I'm not saying give all people to ICE. I'm saying you could find felons and he can give them to ICE if he wanted to. He doesn't want to. That's my point. He is lying here. He could absolutely do it. It is against the law, and so what?
Figure out, how do we house people? So some people say, well, Eric, you giving them more than what you're giving us. Go to the HERC centers where they are, the shelters. The restrooms are outside. Mm-hmm. The showers are outside. They're sleeping on cots. They get 3 basic meals a day. And when I go visit them, they say, we don't want any of this from you.
This is true.
All we want to do is have the right to work so we can provide for ourselves.
Well, in less than 30 days, migrants won't be allowed to work per federal guidelines. And they
yeah, the federal government said they can't work now. Holy crap, is that stupid? Instead of processing these people, process them. There are bad, this is the problem that most people have, right? Not most, the loud people have. You have the loud one side that says, they're all criminals, they're all gangbangers, they're all drug dealers, they're all traffickers. The other side who goes, they're all amazing, awesome working people. Neither of those things are true. Most of the people just want to work. They're not angels, they're regular people who want to work most. And there are terrible, horrible people and traffickers and all those things exist too. You might go, but Larry, it's not most of them. You're right, it's not. It's probably low, it's probably 2%. But if I got 180,000 of them, 2%'s a lot, right? 2% is what, 3,000 of them? Is my math about right? That's 3,000 bad guys. If it's just 2%, 3,000 traffickers and 3,000 gangbangers, that's a lot of bad guys. So even it's 2%. So why don't we process them? The gangbangers won't want to get processed. Now we'll know who the bad guys are because they won't want to get processed. Those who don't want to get processed, they might have to see ICE. They might want to see ICE. We might send them to ICE because they don't want to be processed. The process guys, we can get them through and get them working. Get them out there. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. So Mike says they can never work. Illegals are criminals and the right to work in the U.S. They are working, dude. What's wrong? Of course they're working. They're working. They're literally leaving New York City and state and going into farmland. And they're working. They are working. They're just doing it. Just doing it in a black market. Of course they are. The farmers want them. The hospitality industry wants them. They want them. So they are working. So just let them pay taxes now. Make it legal. They're going to do it. This black market in working is never going to be good. A black market in labor just makes more violence, just makes more traffickers. They want them. Just let them do it.
Be allowed to be housed in NYC anymore. So where would they go?
Yeah, where are you going to go? Perfect.
They finding their way. Out of the 100.
Do you hear that? They find their way. They find that. What's find their way mean? What I just said, Mike. That's what find their way means. They're going to go work someplace. Of course they are. So why are we making what they're doing illegal? Why would we do this? Don't do that. Let them work legally. Let them work.
184,000, 60% of them found their way. Like many
60% found their way. So out of 180,000 people, what's 60%? About 100,000? Is that about right? I'm making me do all kind of math today. So 100,000 are now somehow working. Huh. What a coincidence that is. 100,000 are somehow working. Mike, that's the world, my friend. That's the world.
Have done. You notice you don't hear about the
where they gonna get housing in 30 days though?
Many of them, we giving them intense care. We're not just telling you come here, hang out for 30 days, and we're not gonna help you. No, in those 30 days, and if you're a young person, you get 60 days. But in those 30 days or 60 days, we're giving you intense care. We're showing you how to find your way in our city. We're showing you how to
find
go
your
about
way in our city,
for housing, how to go about applying for the services that you need. And some people are saying, we never wanted to come to New York at all. We wanted to come to another city, but Governor Abbott said, no, we're sending you to New York. Think about this for a moment.
Okay, Governor Abbott sends to New York, and Roger brings up a point. Two things he brings up. When he says, Larry, about permanent housing for native New Yorkers getting pushed aside for migrants. Yes. Yes. The problem is, Roger, and this is the point. It's not an industrial complex, right? It's not an industrial complex. You can't grift off of that, right? You're saying it's correct and righteous, and I agree. But you can't grift off that. That's not griftable. The migrant industrial complex, homeless industrial complex, that's griftable. So we care far more about the grift than about the actual people. He says, Adams may not be able to refuse the buses, but he can put them on a bus into DC. This is a Fed problem. Brilliant. You're right. So, Mr. Adams, put them on a bus, send them to DC. Problem solved, right? Either way, I'm not saying you should do that. What I'm saying is stop saying that you can't. You can. Shelly did the math, 108,000. Thank you, Shelly. That's about 100,000. That's close. Thank you. My math was okay. Not great math, but it was okay. I appreciate that.
We got thousands of Ukrainian migrants. Thousands. Yep. Do you hear about them? No. Because they could work.
Just Mexican and Africans.
Because they could work. They have the right to work. So we wouldn't even be having this conversation if we gave them the authority to work. And you know the real irony of this? We need workers. I need lifeguards. I need food service workers. Many of these migrants from Venezuela are nurses and other professionals. I need people to backstretch workers. Other states are telling me, Eric, we will take the migrants and asylum seekers if they just allow them to work. We're not going to.
Now, what's actually happening is they're taking them anyway and just making them work illegal. That's what's actually happening. That's where those 108,000 people Shelley just talked about, that's where they went. They went to other places and they're working anyway. But now they're either not paying taxes or they're not paying, they're getting fake IDs. By the way, what's happened here is a massive increase, believe it or not, a massive increase in cybercrime. Saying, wait a minute, how the hell are they connected? Because you've got to steal identities now. They're now buying identities. Yes, because we're so silly as to not let them work. The federal government is so broken to say to not let them work, that they're going to work anyway. When are we going to understand that? They are going to work anyway. It does not matter what we do. They're going to work. So let's stop being stupid, but we just keep being stupid. So now the federal government says they can't work. The state says they can't work. So what's going to happen? They're literally going to increase, and more people who are going to have their identity stolen, and they're going to be sold to migrants, and the migrants are going to take them and go work. Wow. Boy, that just solved the problem. More people go to jail, more people having problems, more criminals. Nothing but stupid. This is insanely dumb, and we keep doing it.
Take them and just have them sit around every day. If they're allowed to work, we would take them.
I agree with you.
National government.
She agrees with you.
I agree with you that migrants should be.
She agrees with a lot of stuff.
No, I trust you that I do not.
She's on that train.
I'm sitting here, Mayor Adams.
She's gonna be dialing 911.
First of all, I ride the subway every day. I've worked as a public defender in this city and represented thousands of people. So please spare me. No, I'm not.
Do you think more police make people feel safe, especially black and brown?
No,
people?
they don't.
No, black and brown people.
Yes, brother.
Oh my God.
I just had a town hall. I just had a town hall yesterday. All these black and brown folks inside that town hall. Number one issue they came up with: we want to feel safer. We want more cops on our corners.
Okay, there's no way. He's okay. One or two things are true. Either the people who showed up or who I said show up to these town halls, they are constituents of the local, city councilman, the local state senator, the local assemblyman, where that person, those people showed up. They're Democratic, members of the Democratic Party. That stuff. Then yes, they said that. Absolutely. They're regular people. They would show up and go, "Hi, you know what I'd like? More cops on every street corner." They did not say that. That's not a thing.
People want to feel safer. It doesn't mean they want more cops. And if they did, New York City has the most police in the country. We have the largest police department in the country. How many more police do you want, Mayor Adams?
You go do an analysis across this city in communities of color and ask them.
I live in Flatbush.
Do you want us to take your police away, or do you want more police? I guarantee you will be.
Yes. If the option is take your police away or more cops, that's my only choice. No police at all or more cops. Yes, you're correct. This is also disingenuous. Of course, they would rather have more cops than no police. Completely true. There's been no answer for no police. If they had a community solution, if people could have guns, if people could defend themselves, they might not think that. But since in New York City, you are not allowed to defend yourself, you're not allowed to defend your property in New York City, you may not do that. It's against the law to defend yourself or your property in New York City. The Second Amendment is the second suggestion. That's all that is. So with that in mind, will they take no cops or more cops? If there's only two options, more cops. Disingenuous, but true.
Lost to find someone in
what
these
about when you
communities
add resources to that list? Do you want more resources?
There we go.
To the root of these issues.
That's what people want.
Think about the resources. Think about the resources we've done. Check out what we've done. Check out what we've done. Advocates, the far left, they have been calling for summer youth employment for years.
Mm-hmm.
We gave them 100,000. Never been done before in history.
Okay. Why are they have been asking for youth employment for years? Because you have destroyed the youth market by getting rid of free internships. It's against the law in New York City. You can't do free internments. So of course, internments. You get internments for free. Yeah. Internships. You can't do that in New York City. You got to pay them. Yeah. Because labor laws. You won't let kids who are 16, 17 work because child labor. Oh my God, they're going to be stuck in a factory. No, 16, 17-year-olds can't work full time. So you have stopped the labor market for youngsters. And then during the lockdowns, you made sure kids couldn't go to school and couldn't go to work and couldn't intern. So literally you took a bunch of young 15, 16, 17-year-old young men who were lost, put them on the streets by themselves, created a black market and said, I wonder why crime went up. That's because your policies are garbage. They're begging you to go back to the old ways when if you were a teenager or a high school kid, you could get a job and work full time. A lot of kids did. Or you could get an internship free. Well, Larry, that's taking advantage of that's exploitation. No, it isn't. You're a kid. You don't know anything. You're 16, 17. You're living at home with your mom. Work for free and learn something. That's free education.
Never. They've been calling for investment in NYCHA. We put NYCHA as our top program. When I was during COVID, I was knocking on doors, handing out masks to NYCHA residents because the city refused to do so. And people were saying, why are you giving masks to those people? When I would knock on the doors, I would ask the residents, how your children doing in school? They said, Eric, we don't even have high-speed broadband. I said, when I get elected, we're going to change that. Now, NYCHA residents all have free high-speed broadband. So,
okay, number one, NYCHA residents are screwed because there is literally lead paint in their walls still. There are rats literally everywhere. New York City has over 3 million rats. I'm not joking. There are more rats in New York City than there are population of most American cities. There are more rats in New York City than there are people in Philadelphia. Then there are people, I'm not joking, than there are people in Chicago, in Boston. There are more rats in New York City than that. And a bunch of those rats are in NYCHA. So I'm glad you got them some Wi-Fi. I don't know why they get free Wi-Fi and every other New Yorker doesn't get free Wi-Fi, but just they get free Wi-Fi. I guess that's good, I guess. I don't know, but that's what happens. So I'm not sure why you'd be proud of that. So yes, Roger says, Eric, stop paying native New Yorkers above cost of living and you'd solve worker vacancy issues. You'll just want to exploit natives who ain't having it. Kind of true. Depends on the work. I brought this up before, and there's a lot of people who think this, and it depends upon the work. Some of the workers, some of the jobs Americans simply won't do. They just won't. They won't do it. There are jobs now that Americans just, even when they pay them $35 an hour, $40 an hour. I'm not making that up. You can do your homework if you think I'm making this up. And I was on another show. I was on Pasta to Go. I was on Pasta to Go on his show, on Craig Jardulo's show. And his people were like, you just got to pay him more. No, there are some jobs that Americans will not do. So for some of those jobs, Eric is wrong. Some of them he's right. Some that Roger, you're right on some. Some you're not. Depends on the job. Some jobs Americans just will not do. And it doesn't matter how much you pay because they've done it before. They've raised salaries at $35, $40 an hour, and Americans still say no. They just will not do those jobs. So it's true for certain jobs.
So these children could have access like other children. We are doing the NYCHA land trust. No one was able to do it. We put more people in affordable housing using the voucher system than the history of the program.
Oh my God. Okay. The answer to this, which I've said literally 6 years ago and keep saying, is to go out of your way to incentivize people, to incentivize banks, to incentivize realtors, to incentivize everybody to go rent to own. Rent to own is the best answer. The more rent to own you have, the more ownership people have in their communities, the more ownership people have in their land, the more equity they have in their apartments and their homes, the better off we're going to be. Shoving people into crappy rat-infested homes that they can at least get online, I guess, and watch TikTok, I guess that's good. That's not the number one answer. Making sure that kids go to crappy schools, which don't educate them, which literally, I'm not making this up, don't teach phonics. I'm not making this up. He said in his most state of the city that he's starting now to teach phonics. New York City schools did not teach phonics for decades. I'm not joking. That's a real thing. So putting these kids in crappy schools so they can get no good jobs is not what they need. Give them ownership so they can start to find their own ways. That's the answer.
We've transitioned more people out of shelter into housing in 1 year in the history of the city.
Yes, but you had everybody in the shelters because they were all homeless because of the lockdowns. It's like saying, well, I went really fast down a hill. Yeah, it's down a hill, man.
When I went to do an analysis with all of my gang members and I asked them the question, you know, how many of you have learning disabilities? How many of you are dyslexic?
And all of your gang members?
There's a lot.
That's what you do. That's what you decided to characterize them
with people who
you kick it with the gangs.
Okay. No, I meet regularly with people who.
You met up with some drug dealers at Burger King.
City Hall. I'm glad you brought that up. Hold on, let me just finish this one piece because this is important. We noticed when we did the analysis across the country, not only in New York, across the country, 30 to 40% of the inmates in jail and in prison have a learning disability. Okay. So when I sat down with the chancellor, I said, listen, we can't wait until people, until people break the law. We did dyslexia screening in our schools, and we were able to now catch it and give them the wraparound services they need. So I want to talk about Burger King. So I'm sitting at home, and
I like dyslexia.
I look at
that's
the
not why you go to jail.
There's drug dealers selling drugs in front of Burger King. So I call up the precinct commander. I said, what is this, man? We're not having open drug markets. He says, Mayor, we did a complete operation, buy and bust, went to see, what drugs are they selling, who's selling drugs. He said, these guys are not selling drugs. These guys are homeless. and they just come to feel as though they could be around others.
Oh,
so
okay.
when I went on Sunday, I went down and did what other people don't do. I spoke with them. I said, brothers, can we sit down and talk? Let me find out how, what's going on in your lives. We sat in Burger King, had a conversation. Sharpe brothers.
So they weren't even drug dealers?
No.
Okay.
They were not drug dealers. They were just homeless brothers that just wanted to be a place where people.
I guess it's nice that he does that. I guess that's nice. Roger says, what jobs are paying for us now? I want to apply. There are jobs, and many of them, believe it or not, are on places like farms. For example, slaughtering pigs. I'm not making this up. This is true stuff. Stuff like that. Being able to use certain equipment on a farm to pick different types of produce. It's those types of jobs, right? And migrants will do those jobs. And it's like 35, 40 bucks an hour. This is true. You can do a simple Google search, right? You want to slaughter pigs? You can make 30, 40 bucks an hour. You can. You want to slaughter chickens? You can do it. A lot of Americans don't do that work. They don't want to do it. But migrants will. And those are $35. Why do they come here? They can make good money. A lot of farm workers can do that. Also, certain workers in hospitals who deal with, terrible things in hospitals. A lot of Americans will do those jobs, right? Those types of jobs. A lot of migrants will do those jobs. Hospital workers, people who, healthcare workers, home healthcare workers. A lot of Americans will do those jobs, depending upon who it is, where it is, hospice, stuff like that. Yes, it's those types of jobs. Just again, you can find it.
Others, like other folks do. When people have dog parks and people sit on the steps of a museum. And so we sat there and had a conversation, and we were able to identify what services and what I learned from them. You could have all the services want, but if people don't know the entry ramp to those services,
yes,
then we're
also
good.
True. So this is my other point I brought up in the past, right? This idea of my carrying caboose. It was a central place where people could get into the system they need to get into. For most people, and this goes back, by the way, also goes back to the idea of shelters. He had to get all these people into shelter systems. It shouldn't be hard. The shelter system is a disaster. The shelter system is so bad, most people can't even do it. And what I mean by that, if you're a family, and this is actually Patty's point, a lot of people who are homeless are not what we think of as that the drug addict, old guy. That's like the image of a homeless person, the crazy guy. That is a percentage. There are some people like that who are homeless. That's true. There's a whole lot of people homeless who are families. True thing. Now, if you're a family, odds are you can do the paperwork and get into the system. The odds are probably you have, if you have a husband and a wife, if you have both, if you have one, it's tougher, but if you have both, you can probably get through it. You can navigate it. But what if you're an individual person who has a mental illness or an addiction problem, and you say can't leave the shelter after 8? Well, you have an addiction problem. You're not going to a shelter. Or if you fill out paperwork, you can't handle it. You have mental illness. So if you have a spot like the carrying caboose where people can go there, right, and then have someone there who can say, "Let me get you through it. Let me get you through the paperwork. Let me get you through the system, so you can get the help you need." Right? That shouldn't be a thing that the government has to hire more people to do so. There are tons of people who are volunteers who would happily do it. Happily, right? That's a piece that that piece that we're missing, if that makes any sense, right? Shelley says, "I've run a homeless shelter without government funding. The laws are insane, and the penalties for breaking them are the reason no one opens homeless shelters." Thank you, Shelley. We could do this. Look, I wasn't joking. The government makes this bad. You see it constantly. The government makes it bad. Yes. Here, Patty says, porta potty cleaning is huge up here. The migrants take. Thank you. There we go, Roger. Exactly. Another one. Porta potty cleaning. Yes. Garbage sorting at recycling plants. Americans will not take these jobs. Migrants take these jobs. So, yes, that's how it works. Patty says, back when I was a kid, teens worked on farms with migrant workers. Now kids won't shovel snow. Roger, I'm not making this up. It is a real thing. It's absolutely true.
So now we're going to devise a program that they're going to help me devise on how to reach out to those services. Then I want those brothers to become recruiters to go inside the shelters.
I literally did this on Long Island.
That if you are afraid to get on the ground and have these one-on-one conversation. I've been here, man. I know what it is to buy a nickel bag and make 8 joints so mommy can feed herself. I know what it is to run numbers.
Yeah,
I know what it is to do all.
Oh, this part Olayemi hits hard and he ignores because he's right. She is 100% right here. You know what to do all these things, but you still put them all in jail. That is hypocrisy.
Those things. So I'm comfortable among my folks. And the problem that a lot of people don't understand is they don't know how authentic I am about this work. But they're going to look back over it and say, we had a mayor that came from us
Joe's
and delivered for us. Even the billions of dollars that I'm putting into MWBEs that we've never had before. People are going to look back over these years and say, this brother was real about what he's doing because that's why I'm doing it.
I see people wrapping up. I have two more questions. How do debit cards for migrants compare to New York City welfare benefits?
Debit cards for migrants.
I like that. That's a good question because that was one of the biggest myths. And I think the Daily News just did a piece today of saying why this makes sense. So here's what happened. We were paying people because by law, we got to feed them 3 meals a day. We got to feed the migrants 3 meals a day.
Okay. What if we didn't? It's a serious question. He keeps saying by law we must. What if he doesn't? What if he says, I'm gonna let you go work? Go work. Go work. See up. There's a bunch of farmers up there who wanted to go work. Go work. Just go work, make your money. There's farmers who will happily house you. And I'm not making, if you know upstate New York, and I'm sure it's across the country, but I know upstate New York, but I'm sure it's across the country, there are farmers who would happily house you. Happily. And it won't be a great place, but it'll be better than the place they have here. You can work, they'll pay you, and the food's fresh. It's off a farm. So you get better food, better housing, not awesome, but better housing, and you get paid. Just go. Yes. Shelly says, I used to pay for my campsite by cleaning bathrooms so I could afford to rent my home while making $15 an hour in 1980. That's a lot of money in 1980. $15 an hour in 1980. That's good. Lifeguard in the middle of nowhere. Some of those bathrooms are outhouses. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Mike says, we shouldn't. They're not our obligation. Legal migrants and embedded asylum seekers, yes. Not illegals. Added deterrent. I would argue that if we're going to accept them, like I know you don't like that, but we're accepting them. So they're now ours, right? He could have turned the bus around. He didn't. He could have said no. He didn't. Governor Hochul could have said no. She didn't. We've said yes. We've allowed them. Now they're here. Let them work. Let them work. That's my point. So don't feed them. Instead, let them work. There's literally tons of farms upstate New York. There's hotels, right? There's tons of, Patty says it, there's a bunch of recycling plants that would happily take them. Yes. And house them. Absolutely.
When I told the team, we got to bring down the cost of this by 30% because it was costing us too much money, $12 billion over 3 years, $4 billion already. One of the places was food. We were seeing that we were having a 10% food waste. People were getting food that didn't want and they discarded. So my team came together, first deputy mayor, Sheena Wright, first Black woman to be a first deputy mayor. She came up with a team called Mochify, an MWBE, Black product. They said that we can give people food cards where they can only purchase food and baby supplies. You will save $600,000 a month in costs. People would buy the food that they want and not giving it to them from someone from some large conglomerate. Then they will have to spend the cards in the bodegas, the supermarkets, the local stores, so the money stays inside the community. And the program is run by a person of color.
Okay, don't care about the color part, but nice. He has to make sure he does race because he's Democrat, so he's got to make sure he checks the race card. I get it. Smart move. Smart move for you. I get it. But this is actually not a bad plan, meaning that you get to spend locally, which is not bad, right? I like that plan. It is actually better, right? They get what they want. But I'll go back to what Roger was talking about. How about all the Americans who can't afford that, right? How about Americans who can't afford that? How about the New York City people who would love to have some of that cash? Why wouldn't they love to have some of that cash? Right? That's all I'm saying. So yes, Roger says, okay, you win. I won't take those jobs. There we go. I'm not slaughtering no animals, cleaning after people, cleaning porta potties. Yes, I wasn't making that up, Roger. This is what immigrants are doing. They're actually doing this. Yes. And these jobs will pay. Shelly said that she was getting $15 an hour in 1980. It's at least $30 an hour now, right? at least $30 an hour now. So yes, that's how it works, 100%. So look, I don't know. This whole part bothers me. It makes sense to do it, but then what about the others? That's my point. If I'm going to sit here and say, wait a minute, I'm having trouble paying my bills, why do they get a card? I want a card too. And again, I know people libertarian go, nobody should get a card. Okay, I'll accept that. I'll accept nobody gets a card. I can accept that. I'm okay. Let them work.
Saving over $7 million a year. Where no more food waste because people are buying what they want. It's a Black-owned company, so we put money back into a Black businesses, like I said I was going to do. And you cannot buy anything but food or baby supplies. It's a complete win. Mm-hmm. But people heard it, and it was sensationalized. Oh, you're giving money to migrants. They only get $13 a day for those 3 meals. It's a winning program.
Olayemi, is it a win?
It's not that I have a problem with it. It's that, again, the sensationalism has a lot to do with the fact that you got up and declared that we have this migrant crisis. And I thought it was interesting, your earlier point about the difference between how Ukrainian migrants are being received versus migrants, Black and Latino migrants. Because, again, you gave a town hall where you were the one who gave this speech and you incentivized New Yorkers to feel this way.
Feel which way?
This feel like there is a migrant crisis where the migrants are being treated differently than them, where they're getting resources that the
She's 100% correct. He was out there literally going, it's going to destroy the city. It's the end. The city can never recover. She is right. 100% correct. And Ukrainian immigrants, because they're war refugees, whatever, they come here, they could work. So they're fine. Then let the people here is my point. I know Mike doesn't like the idea that we're letting them in. Okay, but we are. So either, and I brought this up earlier, turn the bus around, put the cops there when a bus comes. Nope. Turn around, go back to DC. That's option 1. Don't let them in. That is option 1. Option 2, let them in and let them work. Vet them and let them work. Those are only 2 good answers. The answer we have is the worst answer.
Migrants are getting resources that are not being given to them because you were the one who presented it to the city that you had to cut budgets across because of the migrant crisis.
Correct.
Even though recently you decided that you all actually do have the money to handle the migrant issue. That just wasn't publicized as much. No, so this goes back to my original discussion.
Sister, you're an attorney, and I'm amazed. I think your art is, I'm just going to throw it out there and make people feel
Mayor
that
Adams,
way
before you say
it,
there's an entire council
sister,
that knows you're lying.
Let me
council knows you're lying.
We still don't have the money for the migrants. We're spending $12 billion in 3 years. $4 billion already.
$4 billion a year. So he just said it wasn't a problem, but now he says it's $4 billion a year. You could do a lot with $4 billion a year. Think about that. You could do a lot with $4 billion a year. It is crazy what you can do with $4 billion a year if you were to put it to help people in some way, shape, or form. Really help them. Like imagine that $4 billion instead. I'll give you that. I'll go what Roger said. Imagine that $4 billion and took that into, say, $100,000 chunks. What is that? 4,000? 4,000 is about 4,000, whatever that is. What's my math? Someone help me with that. 100. What's 4 billion divided by 100,000? Whatever that number. I'm gonna do my math because I've been messing up my math today. So I'm gonna see if I do it right this time. That's 4 billion divided by 100,000. 40,000. So it's 40,000. If you took that, broke it up, and said 40,000 New Yorkers who are all in trouble right now, who are families or individuals in trouble right now, we're gonna put $100,000 to 40,000 of you as a down payment for an apartment or home in NYCHA. I made it up. Just 40,000 NYCHA people. Here's $100,000 towards owning your home in NYCHA. Just did that. Every year. 40,000 people every year for the next 3 years. That'd be $12 billion. You would give 120,000 New Yorkers ownership in their homes. That is a way better use of that millions, that $12 billion. And a glory of this is, if you did that, some of those people would sell their homes and make some cash and would move and leave. Some would. But again, they're out of NYCHA. Someone now owns that home. Still good. Now there's a home on the market that people can buy and sell. Still good. Some people would lose the home. Whatever percentage it is, they would lose it. And someone else would buy it and we'd move on from there. A bank might own it. That would suck. That would happen to some. But a bunch of them would now own a home. And they would have ownership. They could fix their home, have some pride in their home, maybe rent it out, maybe make some money, maybe have some generational wealth. Maybe use that place as a way of thinking about different way in their life and getting their life on back in action. Maybe that. Way better use. if I'm gonna spend $12 billion of taxpayer dollars, which of course I don't want to spend, but if we're gonna spend it, why can't I take in those same time frame? Why can't I support 120,000 New York City families and put them in homes? How about that? Way better use of that cash. Way better.
What I said to New Yorkers at that town hall, this issue will bankrupt will destroy our city. This issue.
Yes.
Call specific country.
He said that. I told you that. He's admitting it. He did say that.
I remember you calling the countries that the migrants were from. They weren't the Ukrainian migrants. You weren't talking about them.
So what happens when we don't have?
Hold on, sister. I did not call the countries what they were from.
It's on video.
He literally
Mayor Adams.
She's right. I saw the town hall. He literally named the countries. He did. He was like, first it's Colombia, now it's Mexico, whatever. He literally named them all. He's absolutely correct. Yes.
Went to Ecuador, Colombia, Mexico to get a full understanding of the flow. I went to the southern border. Just as I went to those brothers in Burger King, I went to the southern border to understand the problem.
I remember you started that tour before you were going to go DC, and when you were going to go to DC to talk to Joe Biden about the migrant crisis, but you were stopped because the FBI had to take your phones.
Ooh, that was a low blow.
You just make
that's low.
Did I make that up? That's reported.
Sister,
the FBI didn't seize your phones.
Sister,
the FBI didn't seize your phones.
No.
Okay, she's right. That happened, but that's a low blow. Olay, that was you just got mad and slapped him. You should not have slapped him for that one. That was bad. Yes, that you shouldn't have done. That was. She's correct. That did happen, but that was a low blow.
They didn't investigate your top aides. That's not happening.
What did you just say?
I said I remember the tour that you went on when you were going to the border. When
when did I come back? I came back because somebody had to take my phone.
Because it stopped. I said I remember on the day of. I remember it because it was.
Well, you got amnesia.
Oh, me and the news. Me and the media.
No.
Your phones weren't seized.
This is important. This is important. I want you to understand. I want you to understand the hypocrisy of people when the law enforcement does something every day.
Hold on. I'm going to bring this up here. Shelly, thank you for this. Schenectady's mayor went to a Guyanese neighborhood and offered them houses for $1. Now it's all Guyanese, which is great, but it could have been a boom for people upstate. Yes. However, and Shelly, I'm going to bring this up because Roger brings up something too. And that's for some of you who some of you who aren't close to the Black community at all, or who haven't been part of it, this may not be obvious to you. Some of you will know this completely, some of you will not. Guyanese, meaning immigrants. Immigrants in America tend to already have an ownership mindset. Remember, immigrants are self-selecting. They aren't born here, right? People who are born here have all different types of mindsets, right? Whether it's ownership or not. But when it comes to most people who come here, many of them are coming for a better life and want to own things. So most, not all obviously, but most immigrants who come here, particularly from say Africa, South America, many of them want to own things. So he gave them a $4 and they took it, of course. This is my point. I want Black Americans to have an ownership mindset. And far too many Black Americans don't. I'm not trying to insult Black Americans. I'm not. I'm one of them. I'm not trying to insult them. I'm just saying far too many of them do not have an ownership mindset. The more ownership we have, the better. Roger brings up a valid point, which goes right along with this. Larry, what Eric neglected to inform you when he said Black-owned company is that a Black immigrant owned the company, not an American freedman, aka ADOS. So you know what ADOS is? ADOS is African descendants of slaves. Government gives things to Black immigrants, not ADOS. This is a big problem. That's why I'm bringing this up. It's a perfect example. Shelly, you bring this up. That governor gave it to immigrants, not to African Americans, if that makes any sense. And there's a difference. That mayor thought, oh, I'm not giving it to Black Americans because they'll screw it up. That's what he thought, I'm sure. He didn't say that, but I'm sure he thought that. He said, oh, I'll give it to immigrants. They'll do a good job because that's what he thought. That's why he did that. Roger is correct. We have to start worrying about, and what we don't do a good job of, is worrying about African descendants of slaves versus just, for example, Ethiopian immigrants, Nigerian immigrants, Guyanese, Senegalese. There's a lot of Senegalese here in New York City, Senegalese immigrants, those types. We have to worry about people who are actually born here also. And there is a difference. I don't mean to be a nudge, but sometimes I have a string of nativism in me. I do. I know it's not always attractive, but it is true. So yes, thank you for that, Roger and Shelly. I appreciate that.
It's bad. But when they do something against Eric Adams, oh, it's good. You know, come on,
No, I
let's
didn't
think
say
about
that. I said what
mine.
happened.
Okay.
I didn't say that it was good. I don't think it's good that our mayor is being investigated for illegal campaigns. I don't think that's good.
I came back because of not that they had to take my phones. That is not true. And you should.
I said it happened that day.
No, it did not happen that day.
I said it was reported before you were going that you were on
reported
your way
that
to
day.
Yes, it was, Mayor Adams.
It was reported wrong.
Where your phone? Did the FBI seize your phone? Did they search your top aides?
Not that day.
Did they search the home of several people? Okay.
Yes.
That's what I said. And I didn't say that was a good thing. I don't think it was good that our mayor is being investigated by the FBI.
So, madam, so what happens when New
She's
York City doesn't have
backslapping? Oh, she's slapping him.
And then, you know,
the
migrants are in this city and they probably have to do what most poor people have to do, which is sometimes resort to crime.
Right.
How's that?
Okay, Charlemagne, stop that. Now you're lying. Hear what he just said? They have to resort to what most people have to in this country, resort to crime. Stop that lie. That is not true. Most poor people do not resort to crime. That's an insult to poor people, number one. Plus, how do you decide who's poor? And crime comes not from poverty. That is not true. Crime comes from a black market. You create black markets make people criminals, black markets make people poor. That's where the crime comes from. Black markets create crime. That's the issue. I know someone will go, no, Larry, all the poor people are. No. There is a whole lot of people who are criminals who aren't poor. White collar crime is huge. Huge. That's all I'm saying.
That's gonna make the city safe.
Right. And that's part of the problem. Imagine having a group of people 18 to 24 years old and being told you can't do anything all day.
Yeah.
When you go.
You mean what you did during the lockdowns? You mean that? You mean what you did during the lockdowns for 2 years? You mean that?
To these hercs, and you're seeing these young people, and I walk in and I talk with them. Some of them come from West Africa, South America.
Okay, you mentioned the names already. You're doing it now, yes, but you talk to them. You know, you spend all the time talking to them. You do any work? I don't think you do.
Central America. All they're saying is, man, we just want to work. We don't want to sit around here all day and not do anything. That is why the real focus should be on our national government that's saying, why are you doing this to New York? Check out what they're doing. They're doing it to New York.
Okay.
They're doing it to Chicago. They're doing it to Los Angeles. Okay. They're doing it to Houston.
Why are they doing it to all these cities, though? The national government hates you.
What is the same in all those cities?
Tell me.
All black mayors. All black mayors.
See? I was wondering why we had this migrant crisis. I was wondering why we had these issues with these asylum seekers. I was wondering why we're having so many problems in all these cities. And of course, the answer is racism. Right on brand. Right on brand. See that? It's racism. That's what it is. That's what it is. Mike, stop saying these cities are progressive strongholds. Stop saying that. That's not true. It's because racism. I'm not sure how that works, but it's racism. That's always the answer. As I said, Eric Adams is a mainstream Democrat. He brings up race all the time. All the time. It is racism. So you now cannot be mad. Mike, you can't be mad at him anymore because he's brought up the race card. Once he does that, you now have to stop talking. Oh, wait a minute, we're black. We can't talk. Okay, you and I can keep talking. Everyone who's white has to stop talking. So yes, it's because he brought the race card up. So we're all racist now. That's it. Problem solved. Whew. I feel better. Now I know why.
And so what we're saying, same thing that I'm going through here, my brother Johnson is going through. My sister Bass is going through. My brother Turner is going through. So our folks, what they wanted to happen, Governor Abbott wanted to happen, we're going to turn these cities against their mayors. We're going to create this environment where
we're going to turn these cities against their mayors. Not their bad mayors. No, they're not bad mayors. Stop saying that. They're not. It's that the federal government is racist, I guess. Well, Joe Biden is racist. So I guess that actually does track. So I guess, no, he's kind of got me on that one. Joe Biden, that's kind of true. But anyway, my point being, the federal government is now got this crazy plan to turn American cities against black people. That is the plan. He's actually saying this.
all going to go against their mayor. Go Google what they're doing to my brother in Chicago. Go Google what they're doing to Sister Bass.
And before that, Chicago was a wonderful place. No one was being killed. They didn't literally call it Chirac. That's what Chicago was called, Chirac, because it was more dangerous than Iraq back during the war. So yeah, that's the reason. But then no, it was fine back in Chirac days. Now, yeah.
So the cities have now turned against these black mayors that are making real change for the first time.
Right.
See, these black mayors, for the first time, making real change. And you know what the federal government hates? It hates when black people fix cities. That's what it hates. So the second they say, wait a minute, Eric Adams is elected, we all know how amazing he is and how much change he'll make. So let's have this crazy plan. Let's open the border, let these migrants in, then we'll get buses. And we'll send buses to these black mayor cities. And then over the course of years, the people will hate the black mayors and racism. He's literally saying this stupidity. It sounds dumb when I say it because it's dumb. It sounds silly when I say it because it's silly. It's absolute garbage. He could just, in theory, take responsibility, but let's make up some multi-year national conspiracy theory to get black mayors. That works way better.
And
they're using this to say, okay, these black mayors are not competent. They can't run their cities. They're getting everything to the migrants and asylum seekers. This was a perfectly executed plan.
Damn, that's good.
We are buying into.
He literally said this. This is a perfectly executed plan. Now, if this is a perfectly executed plan, the Democrats are in charge now. So the Democrats hate black mayors who are also Democrats. Man, Democrats playing 6D chess right here. This is some 6D chess right here. Man, okay. So we're going to do this and then blame the Republicans and then get the black mayors. Whoo! And he's like, can't believe you can't see it.
Black mayors look bad across the country.
And when we
even Charlemagne's like, wait a minute. Now Charlemagne believes some weird stuff, and he's like, wait a minute. I don't know. I don't even know I can buy this one. I'm not sure.
Doing just the opposite. I inherited a city that was in disarray.
Oh, man.
Disarray. And no matter how much you do your analysis, you got to walk away with this brother got more private sector jobs in the history of the city. We reached that point. This brother had.
Yeah. Yes. After the lockdowns, literally anyone could have done that. I literally could have just taken some dude off the street, put a suit on him, said, you're the mayor now, good luck. And we still would have recovered. Not impressive. Not impressive. So Roger says, black marks are great of economic desperation, which stems from poverty. That's chicken and egg sometimes, Roger. That's sometimes chicken and egg, right? It can happen both ways, but if the black market's the key, just because somebody's poor doesn't mean they go to crime. That's not how it works. There's lots of people who are poor, who are not criminals, who don't go to crime. The black market creates crime. Now, are they back and forth? Sometimes, yes. Adolph's American defendants of slaves and African. Oh, was that right? I think, are you right? Yeah, maybe. Okay, maybe you're right now. I might have messed that one up. Thank you for that correction. I'll check it. I think you might be right. Okay, thank you for that.
His bond rated increase. 40% increase in crime when I came in. We're now dropped those crimes. 13,000 guns removed off our city. Outpacing the state in reading and writing for our children in the public schools.
None of these are impressive. None of them. It's like saying some guy put me on top of a hill with a skateboard, sat me on a skateboard, and gave me a push. Boy, did I go fast downhill. That's not impressive.
School system. 62 million tourists are back here.
Okay, 62 million. Prior to the lockdowns, it's the 7 million. We are still 5 million down on tourism. We haven't even reached our max of tourism yet. So these are numbers that just sound big.
More housing vouchers. You go down the list, invest in nature. You go down the list, you're seeing a brother that managed the city that people said was unmanageable. And we did it in 2 years and 3 months.
This is my last question. Do you believe the Biden administration's border policies have fueled the worst border crisis in U.S. history?
In New York, you said New York history or in America history?
I think I'll leave it at New York history.
I think it definitely impacts us, but I think it's an accumulation of what the White House.
But hold on, didn't he just say about 5 minutes ago that the whole reason why all the migrants are coming to the cities is because they, mean the federal government, Joe Biden, who runs the federal government right now at this point, is a racist and is trying to get rid of all the black mayors who are all so amazing and are doing nothing but great stuff. And because racism, they can't. Did he just say that? So you'd have to say, if you were to agree with this plan of racism, that Joe Biden's screwing you over, right?
It's failing to do, and the Republican-led Congress is failing to do, and other ministers.
The Republicans are also racist. Got it. Right. That makes sense. Okay. He's on brand at least. Not just Democrats are racist, Republicans too. They're all racist. Okay.
Racist. People don't want to deal with the fact that we need real immigration reform. And let me tell you what this should look like. Do you know here in our country where we are decreasing in population in many cities?
Yes, New York City specifically, over 100,000 every year. That's correct. Yes.
Hurting for people in many cities.
Yep.
When people come across the border.
Yeah.
The national.
Okay, hold on. So we're hurting for people leaving cities. Okay. So what you could do in theory, here's what you could do. You could say, wait a minute, people leaving my cities. I think my cities must suck for some reason. I should probably fix my cities. I should do that, right? If I'm a business market, people aren't buying my product or my service, I should probably do something about that. Make a better product, make a better service, make it easier to get, make it nicer, something. I should do something to get more people to buy my product or service. So him never having a private sector job in his life, only knowing government, what do you think his answer will be? Well, let's find out.
Government should say, you're going to go to this city where we need populations. Stay there for 3 years, and then you can go anywhere you want in the country.
We're going to take migrants and force them into city gulags. What else would he possibly say? Of course. So he's not going to say, you're a migrant. You are free to work where you want to work. Here are your papers. Go work. Enjoy. No. You are a migrant. Now you are mine. You will be locked into this city for 3 years and work when we say you're going to work. Wow. That was his answer. His answer, he woke up this morning and chose violence.
Country. We need to use this crisis as an opportunity. Our cities are hurting. In Kentucky, they're hurting for backstretch workers in the racing industry. We should be saying, you want to come here? You're going to go to Kentucky. You're going to stay for 3 years. You're going to learn how to be in the country and work.
You know what we could do? We could put them all on trains, like boxcars, and take them to camps where they could learn stuff. They could learn stuff in these camps. They'll have to concentrate a lot in these camps. We'll call them concentration camps. And they will then learn to concentrate on the jobs we need them. And there'll be work. And if they work long enough, work will set them free. I just got demonetized.
That's how we should do it. Instead of just saying, go wherever you want. And allowing this to be politicized by the governor of Texas and say, we're going to hurt Chicago, hurt New York, hurt Los Angeles.
No, it's racism. You told me this already.
Hurt Philadelphia. We just got a sister who's was the elected mayor. The day she was being sworn in, a plane of migrants were coming in.
Wow.
None of them was coming before.
Wow. Number 4, because the black woman came in, they were like, aha, she's black. Send her migrants. There we go. There we go. Yes.
No migrants was going to Los Angeles until Bass became mayor. When the first female black mayor became mayor, when she became mayor, they said, let's start sending them to Los Angeles. They playing us, man. They playing us. Wow. You know that?
I respect.
That's what it is. They're playing us. Damn racist.
Any elected official who can come have this conversation, because these are the tough questions. from your constituents.
Yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. You know,
what can y'all do to work together?
we should.
Yeah.
You're because no matter
both of y'all care.
Yeah, without a doubt. You know what's actually interesting? You said that because when I was in I'm in rooms with folks and I walk out of those rooms and I say, you know what, we both disagree, but we both love the city and love our people. We have to separate the
look. There may have been a time. I'm going to end it here, guys, for that one. I'm going to stop that piece. But there may have been a time. It is possible that there was a time that Eric Adams liked and loved the city and was working for it and trying to make it work. There might have been a time. That is over, right? He's a grifter now, right? Just grifting. He's made it. He's pulled a ladder up behind him. He's grifting. That I'm not concerned, but that's what he's doing. So it is what it is. Look, I want to grab a couple of comments if I could. So many things. I appreciate that. Mike says, close but not demonetized. Funny though. Yes, you did get it. A lot of you I thought would get that joke. Guys, before I keep going, and I want to keep going, but please click that like button. I say it. If you think it's funny, interesting, good, then click the like button. It really does matter. Every click matters. If you're watching on Twitter, please retweet this. Everything retweet, it does matter. Repost it, do it. If you want to get your chat to the front, super chat me, support the show, or just become a member. If you're watching on YouTube, click that join button. $5 a month to see my very handsome face and have me crack very stupid, tasteless jokes. And also, with all of that in mind, able to get me to do more of this more times per week. It does matter. It is important. But I do want to bring up a piece if I could. Every single thing he said, every single issue he talked about, every one of them, I have brought up at least once on this show or when I was running. Often I brought them up hundreds of times. I've had answers, solutions for these multiple times. Many of you heard me say it. I've said it on my radio show with Tuesdays. I've said it on this show. I said it on the campaign trail. I said it. I did half of these things when I was on Rogan years ago, 2018, 2019, when I was on Rogan. I said it then. I gave these answers back then. These are repairable issues if you care enough to repair. They don't want to fix them. I'm not joking. And you can tell they don't want to fix them because then they can keep saying, keep hiring me, bring me back on again. Let me keep staying. I've got to fix these things. And the embarrassment is when he was called out on his failures, instead of saying, yeah, I screwed it up or I could have fixed it, he said he was only two things. He was helpless when he's not. He is a mayor. What is the repercussions that he takes if he just says no? He'll say no for other stuff left and right, but he won't say no for this. Second piece, he blamed race, used race all the time. Race was fine, race was fine, race was fine. Look, there are places for race, and Roger brings it up. There is a difference between American descendants of slaves and Black immigrants. There's a difference. There is an issue. I'm not against race. I've brought race before, but not in this case. This is not about race. This is not. This is about bad policy, stepping up, and fighting bad government and doing the right thing, which he will not do. But I will. I've told you what I would do. I've shown you what I would do. And more, I'm considering running for mayor next year. Maybe I'll get in a debate stage with this guy and hoop and holler and do it the right way. We'll see. Guys, I want you to please click that like button. I'm gonna get going right now. It's been a late night for me. Been 2.5 hours. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be on again tomorrow. By the way, I'll be on tomorrow at 9 p.m. again doing the Sharpe Club. It should be a great show. I'm going to be talking about the idea of freedom to do something or freedom from something with some very good panelists. I'll ask you one more thing if I could. When this show is over, please do me a favor. Come back to wherever you're watching, whether it was on Twitter, whether on Facebook, YouTube, come back on and put a comment. Doesn't matter what the comment is, just put a comment, ask a question, something. It really helps the Al Gore rhythms. It does help tremendously. Please do that. I will see you all very soon.